So the premise of Step Right Up is really about the kit. This is the June kit for Simon Says Stamp. If you're not familiar with their kit subscription, they do really cool kits every month. This one actually had my hand in along with Nina Marie Trapani. So thanks, Nina. We worked together on this. And it all started with this ticket book because Heidi was out here. I think it was after one of the classes that we did last year. And we were just talking about just fun things. And we were talking about ephemera. And I said, oh, you know what my favorite ideology ephemera thing is this ticket book that we designed years ago. Because it's filled with all of these cool vintage tickets. There's 104 tickets in here. And truth is, these are all like real tickets that I own. I have so many tickets, you have no idea. I have rolls of tickets around the house. I do something about movie tickets, raffle tickets, all of that I absolutely love. And so Chris at Advantis actually designed this. It is a perforated book because, you know, let's face it, tickets are best when they're ripped off of a roll. So it starts by ripping off the tab and you have all of these cool tickets. Some of it are transit tickets, some of it are drive-in tickets, raffle tickets, refreshment tickets, all sorts of fun things. Anyway, so she's like, oh, that would be fun. And then we just started kind of riffing on what sort of ideas we could kind of go around this. So I want to preface this by saying that this kit, this is a limited edition kit in the sense of the value of this, because everything I'm going to show you right now is what's in the kit. And I think the kit retails for like $39.99 at simonsaystamp.com. That's where it is. These are their products that this ticket book is in. Once the kit sells out, the individual elements that I'm going to use will still be available. So those are something that you can buy and they'll replenish, but the value is long gone. You'll see what I mean. And Heidi did an amazing job. If you go on their YouTube channel after this, you can watch it, and she does a whole overview and talks about that. So, but in this kit, you get a ticket book. You get these really cool dies that I'm going to demo today and talk about it. One is, of course, a popcorn box. Mine are empty because, well, I've used them all. They're already all on my magnet sheets because I've been using them. Absolutely love it. There's a little cone because we're going to make some cotton candy. There's festive bunting. All of this is in this kit. All of this is $39.99, which is crazy. The ephemera slots die. We did an ephemera slot die in the Christmas in July class last year. It was actually, I think it had 5 slots that were closer together, and it was not for sale other than the class itself. So a lot of people asked for it. So we just kind of reworked this and did something different, things that I would want change in it. Because after using it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't really need 5 slots because I felt like I was covering up too many things when I had that many layers. And I wish they were a little further apart. So Nina and I worked on this, and it's the same width though. So it works perfect on a tag or a card, but it's just a very cool one. This stamp set, freaking blast. Besides, they're just really fun little sayings that happen to do with cotton candy and popcorn, all that. There's a great burst, my favorite stamp, some fireworks, some little streamers, some stars, and then these fun little patterns you're going to see. We're going to use those today. So we can do stripes on a popcorn box, little cone stripes for cotton candy, and then just some background elements. So that stamp set, that's included. I think that was it. There's some fluff. These are colored cotton balls. So when I was talking to Heidi, I'm like, oh, I want to do cotton candy. So I went searching and I found pre-colored cotton balls. Because let's face it, have you ever tried coloring cotton balls? Whether it's alcohol ink or ink, it is a hot mess and it doesn't really work well. And well, this is the perfect cotton candy color. So that's in the kit. And you can get those as well. These little cards, because I love making these cards. I didn't know this was a specific name. Now I know they're called 4-bar. It's just a smaller card. The card itself is like 3.5 by 5. And I just like this size for small, cute little things. But of course, this stuff is scaled to make whatever size card you want. But I love that these are in the kit. There's also this cool stuff. This is called Heat and Fluff. This is from Simon Says Stamp. You'll see it's like old school puffy paint, but better. Because puffy paint was like, besides that it was very tacky, it didn't, I'm going to say explode when it fluffs up, and this stuff does. So we're going to use it for popcorn. So when you heat it, it actually like fluffs up, but kind of bursts open. So it's very cool that Heidi was able to find this, because I'm like, we need something like puffy paint. We started with that, and then before you know it, we had this cool product. So very cool that she was able to source that. There's some pre-printed panels. This actually comes as an 8.5 by 11 sheet. I've already used the stripe one on the card that I sent to Simon Says Stamp, but they sell these as well. They print them in Ohio. And so this is just, I think it's like a 120-pound cover, but these are great card panels, or you can die cut them. But I love the retro vibe that we did. And then just some colored cardstock, some red. I think it's your schoolhouse red. There's some craft. I think it's like desert sand or something. And then a piece of white copy paper, which we'll use. Then just some fun things. There's, of course, a little scattered straw, distress oxide, because this is going to be melted butter, as you'll see. Truth is, this is a true story. I was going to call this color melted butter, but when the color came out, it's when we were doing seasonal releases in distress, and so all the names needed to either be kind of fall or winter at the time, and so that's why it's called scattered straw. But it's always been melted butter in my heart. I know, right? Because it really makes you. And then just some fun stuff. Remember these old school scratch and sniff? So even in your kit, you have a scratch and sniff so it can smell like buttered popcorn, and you have a cotton candy little lollipop and some string. So fun stuff in the kit. And again, all of this stuff is available in the kit for $39.99 while supplies last, because once it sells out, then everything could be purchased separately, a la carte. But like the stamp set alone is 20 bucks. And then you have all these individual dies that are like $10 to $8. So you get all of this stuff and the ticket book and the cards and all that. But we're going to play with this stuff today because I want to take you through and just kind of show you how I do stuff. I'm not much of a card kit person, no surprise there, because I don't typically make a ton of cards. But when it comes to elements, I'm always open to what things are provided in kits or what things are released and how I can incorporate them in my world. And that's really, I think, the catalyst of this whole live demo, is because sometimes in our world, we see stuff and we see it at face value. Like we look at this and go, I'm not really going to make any Carnival cards, denied, I'm on my way. Okay. And I think you might miss out on a lot of cool things that you could do with some of these rando elements, whether you got the kit or whether you just picked out a few things. And that's what today's demo is, just to kind of show you in my brain, like how you can use things beyond what it is and how you can make it look different than what you might see on the package. Okay, that's what it's all about. So we're going to go from there. Denied. Before I start, I'm going to call out real quick. There's other products that we designed, and it was so much fun working with Nina. And I love that Heidi just kind of trusted me in helping with the collab. You know, she's like, hey, you want to work on some ideas? And we just kept going and going. We did this cool burst stencil. It's very different than the one I did with Stampers Anonymous, so I'll talk about that. I love this marquee sign. It's really a cool die set. It's actually 3-piece die. And you'll see, again, if you watch the Heidi's video, she goes through a lot more samples. This little grandstand label, that's fun. This prize ribbon, very cool because it's not a rosette. It's actually designed with these pieces that create this stitched flat rosette. Maybe if there's time today, we'll play with that. Has a coordinating stamp set. So all these little sentiments and fun words can go inside. And then we did these small little sentiments that can go down the lid. Just fun. And again, this stuff is sold individually. So these things are not part of the kit, but you can buy them individually. And then I just thought this was hilarious, a little duck. And some people didn't get it, but I remember the Carnival game of the little floating ducks and you had to throw the rings around the neck. So I love the idea of having a 3D embossing folder of the ducks. There's actually 2 little dies in there to cut out the little duck if you just want to use one of them. And then, of course, the stencil to color them. Just so fun, right? Crazy, crazy fun stuff. Okay, let's get to it. I have no idea where we're going with it, so just buckle up, Buttercup, because I have no idea. I have no idea what's about to happen.
Do you need it close by though?
Thanks, Mario.
Sure.
Did you hear the hesitation in my voice? He's like, do you want me to take that? And I'm like, and he goes, do you want it close by? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, I want it already. That's it. Oh, thank you, Captain Obvious. I gave it to him, and now I'm taking it
Back.
I'm taking it back, guys. Oh, I need that too. Because here's the thing. I used it all, and then I wasn't going to talk about the kit because Heidi was worried that it was already going to sell out yesterday or Thursday when she launched it, because it was like Thursday or Friday. She's like, it might be gone in 48 hours. And then I go, well, I'll wait to hear from you in the morning. You know, if it's still there, I'll talk about it. And if not, I'll just talk about each thing. So you might be in luck for if you're watching live and you get it. Because really, for 40 bucks, come on. Okay. We're going to play around with some different elements, but I'll talk about what the things in the kits do, and we'll take a deeper dive, okay? So these are the cards that I created for the live that I sent to Simon Says Stamp, and I recreated them yesterday, and they're really easy. And I'm going to demo how to make these because they really are fun, and repetition is key when it comes to creating it. So I'm just going to break down some of the fun things that are in here, okay? So first, we'll just talk about the weird one. which is this. It's just a 3D cone, and you might be like, I have no idea what to do with it. Well, its main purpose for this kit was to do a cone for the cotton candy. It's the perfect size because this particular cone needed to be very long, very skinny. If you've had cotton candy before, you know that paper cone is very unique to cotton candy. So we wanted to create that die. And then, of course, the stamp, there's a coordinating stamp on how to do it. And I'm going to demo how to make it, so don't worry, I'm going to demo all this. I'm just giving you a little preface of what we're doing. In case you're not interested, you can go and enjoy your Saturday. All right? So cute little things, cotton candy. Those are the little cotton balls. They're fun. I love how wonky they are. It's hilarious to me. And then we've got the popcorn. Now the popcorn, this die set is a cool 3D box. It also has, I'll just say, the popcorn insert, because when Nina and I were working on this, I'm like, I don't want to put like 50 pieces in there. I want a head start, and then we can just build. So that's your head start piece of popcorn that goes in the box. Again, I'm going to demo it. Then we've got 4 little popcorn kernels. So cute. These could also be little mini clouds, I think, if you were doing little travel journals, you had an airplane die, and then a label. Okay. And this is what it creates. It creates the cutest little dimensional popcorn. And we say dimensional, meaning you could pop it open into a square box if you wanted, but it was really designed that it could go flat if you wanted to just flatten it out and put it on a card, but it still could stick out in the front, or you can leave just that little V like I did here. So you could still glue it on a card, and this way when you mail it, it can flatten out and it pops back up. Do you see that? So that's really the design of that die, where you're like, that's just a very weird kind of square die. That's the genius of Nina. It's just very cool that because I'm like, I want it to look like a box, but I don't want it flat, but I don't want it a box. So there you have it. But the cool thing about this also, the stripes, stamp. So the perfect scale stripes that you can stamp the popcorn box, really fun. And then we're going to do some really cool, there's that, oh my gosh, that heat and fluff. Do you see what I mean by like exploding popcorn? Boy, do you see how it works? So easy. And then of course, the delightful buttery deliciousness of scattered straw. This is scattered straw, which is, I think, now you see it, it is melted butter, right? It's okay, you can call it that too. Melted butter, because that's what it is. So we're going to play around. We're going to do the cotton candy. We're going to do the popcorn. I'm going to show you how to make the cards. I'll talk about this a little bit later, what you can do with the ephemera slot. I'll even talk about this, like what you can do with it, because you might look and go, well, gosh, didn't you do pennants? I've done little bunting pennants dies for, well, in my Sizzix line, I think I did them for like spring. I've done them for birthday, but nothing like this. This was really fun because these dies actually, they're much larger. They actually cut out the holes or poke out the holes, and then it even comes with like a string die that you can thread through them. So this little piece, if you did a paper string, you could weave through there, or you can use any kind of string. It's just, yeah, see, I see people wanting popcorn. I agree. Yeah, they're the other dies. I'm telling you, I was using them. Good fun. Okay, so that's kind of an overview. I'll do that, and we'll get started, because I don't want to go through everything. There's going to be a little few surprises along the way, because my brain was crazy. I think we worked in here till almost 10 o'clock last night, and then this morning, I was up at 5:30. That is, if anyone that knows me, that's not me. That's not me. But it's like, I have some other ideas. I got to go. Okay, let's bring this into frame. Just going to work on the glass mat. There we go. That's pretty good. So we're going to demo some stuff. So I think what I'll do, and I'll try to watch the chat the best I can, is I think I'm going to start with the cotton candy, because that one's just, it's fun. It could be a little frustrating to some people, but you have to be okay with it the first time, because once you do it, I think you'll settle in a little bit better. The cute thing about this really is that it's just done with cotton, and I think having that colored cotton also makes it's really sweet to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work with a piece of copy paper. Now, it doesn't have to be the cheapest, thinnest stuff, but it definitely shouldn't be cardstock. If you want to do cardstock, you're braver than I am, because we're going to roll it into a very skinny, pointy cone, and so thinner paper is going to work better. All right, that's really why. That's the important thing. We're just going to I'm just going to chop it out, because after all, it's just copy paper. Okay, let's just do that. I think I'll just chop that to start. And we're going to use this stamp. This is going to be the cone stripe stamp. You can see I've already used mine. Just going to place it on the block, and it's going to be whatever color. I don't know. Let's do red. It could be red. It could be blue. It could be whatever you want it to be. Ink of choice for this particular kind of stamping. If you're stamping with clear stamps, I would either go with, well, in my world, if you have other inks that you know work with clear stamps, then you do you. But if you're really in like the distress world, I think oxides work better with clear stamps than distress ink does. You can still stamp with distress ink, but it looks distressed. You know, it gets kind of little speckly fleckly on there, which is cool. But oxide gives you, I think, a better coverage. You can also use any kind of permanent ink like archival. And sometimes I'll use one over the other, just depending on what my goal is. So I'll come back to archival in a bit. Right now, I'm just going to do oxide, okay? So tap, tap, tap. You know, it's a felt ink pad. So, you know, you can give it pressure and you tippity tap, get some ink on there. There we go. And then we're just going to stamp it on this piece of copy paper. And I stamp and kind of use my fingers for pressure, give it a little wiggle. And there we have our stripes. Perfect. Clean this off. I'm just going to clean it with water and a little cloth. It's done. Clear stamps are going to stain no matter what you do. Even if you use, you know, permanent ink or ink cleaner, it's just going to do that. And I'll put it back. That's not like me either. I'm totally behaving. So these are the colors that I used for the stripes. I used lumberjack plaid for the red, but you know, I wanted that like carnival red, but maybe you would want them pink, so do whatever color. And then for this kind of fun blue, I actually used broken china. The first time I did it was salty ocean, but it just didn't give me that cool, I don't know, nostalgic turquoise color. So those are the colors. Lumberjack plaid, broken china that I used for the stripes on those. But you use whatever you want. All right, then the die. Here we go. Here's the cone die. So this is going to be weird, but also, again, taps into the genius of Nina, who's like, she goes, I did the stamp a little weird. I'm like, okay. But once I understood it, I'm like, that's a very cool. Okay, just going to take a piece of tape. Just going to use any tape that you're going to be able to secure your die. But here's the thing. I'm going to place it and then hold it up. You want to take the straight edge of this cone die, and you only want to worry about the straight edge of the stamp. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff to the left of it. And the corner of the die, I'm going to match up to the little corner of that bottom stripe. So I'm just going to position that. And it's very strange, I know. And I'm going to tape it. So I'll just tape it here just so I can hold it up and show you what I'm talking about. So the rest of this is exposed. This curve goes right off the top in orbit. So for people that are like, oh, well, I'm going to, you know, try to put the arch of the cone with the arch of the stamp. Nope, it's the straight edge that you want to line up. You'll see. That's what creates the spiral, okay? Because it is a little bit weird, because the first time I used it, I was trying to line up the curve of the die to the curve of the stamp, and then the whole thing was janky. So there you go. Straight edge of the stamp to the die. Then we're going to die cut it. So use whatever. I'm just going to use a sidekick. It's interesting. There's still people out there in the world that don't even understand the value of a sidekick. So like, I have a die cut machine. Yep, me too. The benefit of a sidekick is a quick pass. For little things, it's done. It's not big plates. It's not a longer pass. But there you have it. That's kind of my thing about die cutting. The reason you want a tiny machine is for quick little cuts, and you're done. So here's what we have. Okay, straight edge goes to the bottom, and we have this out of a piece of paper. Copy paper-ish. So next, we're going to turn this into a cone. We're going to roll this. So it is best if you just take your fingers and kind of relax this, okay? I've tried things with a quilling tool. A tweezer might help. I do have a pair of tweezers, like little squeezers, I call them, because they're, what are they, reverse tweezers? Squeezers is what I call them, these little guys.
Everyone is happy that you
These are from
showed the die
Sizzix.
cutting, because it was like confusing everyone's brain.
It confused my brain,
Yeah.
Trust me, because I was like, are we going to finish that? And Nina's like, no, it's really a good idea. And it really is, because it will automatically create the spiral. See, that's the genius of it. Otherwise, all your stripes would just be horizontal, right? Very, very cool. So whatever works. This is all I needed. I didn't need to wrap it around anything, but yeah, it could be a pencil, a brush, you do whatever's gonna work for you. Okay. Then what I do is this bottom piece right here, that little bit right there, that's what I just kind of really work the most, because that's what needs to get started. So I kind of squish it a little bit. I'm not worried at this point what this looks like. It's just paper. So just relax, okay? Then you're gonna use a very forgiving yet fast drying glue. So for that, I'm just going to use the Simon Says Craft glue. The reason is if you do tape, tape is very challenging because it's not forgiving. Hot glue, too thick, not forgiving. Collage medium would work, but it doesn't dry fast enough, so you'll be holding it longer. So you do whatever's gonna work, but just from a glue perspective, that's my recommendation. Then this blank part, this whole little white part, this is where you're going to put your glue. And this glue dries totally matte, so I'm a little bit more generous than I normally would be, but I don't really care because if I need some more, great. If I get too much, you're not gonna see it. So I'm gonna start from the tip of this and I'm just gonna start rolling it into itself. And as you bring this part around, you're gonna see the stripes line up. See that? And once you have those line up, and even if they're off a little bit, it's good enough. This is the back, no one's gonna see it. But see how it's kind of flat? Don't freak your freak. Take your squeezer, put them right in to hold that seam, and you're done. Give it just a minute to dry, and you're good to go, okay? Simple, simple. So when you're rolling it, if your stripes don't line up or if it's a little weird at first, you can unroll it. That glue has a little bit of time to kind of go in and give you a chance to manipulate it, if you will. But this is all we're gonna see is the front anyway. So that seam, even if they were off a little bit, you're not gonna see it, but we are trying to create that little swirly, whirly, twirly. Make sense? Okay.
Swirly, twirly.
Okay. Because you're gonna wanna get good at the cone. You'll see, you're gonna wanna get good. And we're gonna do probably another cone a little later. So we'll revisit that, but like that's really all you need. Pretty simple, okay? So I let that dry for a second and then we're gonna get our cotton candy of choice. I've gone through these a lot. Okay, so this is kind of rolled. And that to me is what made it like the perfect cotton candy look. Some people didn't want this as fluffy, so you could like unroll it and trim it. I say fluff it, like use it. It's like the coolest chunky bit, but you know, you can zhuzh it, you can have it whatever you want, but you can make it as big or small as you want. I use the whole deal. Some people don't want to. That's fine. Yeah, and if you want to, you know, give it a little spin, you know, just do it. It's crazy fun. Okay, so here's the thing. When you glue on the paper cone and this cotton, just like, they don't necessarily want to get along. So here are some things that I do. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just saying this is the way that I do it. So I'm going to take off the squeezers because now my paper cone is done. And now I can just make it round again. So you don't worry about that extra paper in there. There's our little cone. Cute, right? Okay. So here's what I want to do. Okay, let's go in here. Okay. I'm just going to start with some hot glue. Hot glue is key for this, so you need to do what's going to work for you. So I'm just going to put some hot glue, a pretty good blob. You see that? That's blobular, right in the middle of the cotton. I'm going to set this down. I'm going to take the cone. I'm going to stick the cone into that blobular of glue, and I'm going to push in to the cotton ball, like holding it, just pushing it, and just hold it for a second. Okay? So I'm not putting it on just the tip of the cone and just touching it. Like I want it embedded in the cotton ball. Simple. But you need to let it cool for a second. And then, bam, done. Because see, it's all up inside. If for whatever reason this wanted to come back out because maybe you didn't use enough hot glue, and like when you put it in, it came back out, you could squirt some glue like around the cone and put it in. Again, it's just about like an innie versus an outie, because I just think it gives it more of a realistic look. Okay, so that's it. That's the beauty of just making cotton candy. Couldn't be easier. Now, one of the things I did on the card sample is I wanted mine to even be more sparkly, more twinkly. And I understand that cotton candy isn't typically sparkly and twinkly, but you know what? You do you, I do me. To me, candy, sugar, twinkly, happiness. So
Winner. Winner.
if you want your cotton candy to be twinkly, here's how I did it. I used regular rock candy, so that's going to be the regular fine glitter, not chunky. A glitter duster. Now, if you don't have a glitter duster, you can use the glitter, but I would suggest like pinching and sprinkling it on. Don't pour it on, because if you pour it on, you're going to really lose the cotton factor of this, okay? So a glitter duster is going to be great. If you have a glitter duster, you only want to fill it about halfway because you need to leave air in the chamber for it to work, and I'll show you how that's going to work. And then hairspray of choice. This would be mine. You could tell. Bedhead. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to glitter this one. So I'm going to have my hairspray. The glitter duster, once you fill it, you just just swivels out either way. Okay, it doesn't pull out like people want it to do. It just swivels out either way because we're gonna spray that. I'm gonna get myself a little box. It could be a splat box. It could be whatever, because we're going to spray this. So what a glitter duster does is it pumps air, and you can use it for glitter. People use it for flocking powder, anything that's fine. So like chunky glitter won't really dust. It'll get clogged up in here. So it needs to be something fine. Any kind of embossing powder, I don't know why you would do embossing powder, but you could do that as well. But here's what happens. When you just push down, can you see that little bit of glitter on there? Like maybe I can get it to over the brown. Maybe you'll see how it comes out.
Oh, I see. Perfect.
Can you see that?
Yeah, it's really.
Because I can't see it.
No, do it again. You'll see right here.
Oh yeah, that's what it does. It just dusts out a little bit of glitter. And a lot of people they're like, oh my, I don't even understand. It's not really working, because you want to see like it dump on there. That's the purpose of glitter duster, is we want a dusting of glitter. And the cool thing about this is you can do this on anything. So like, let's say you did die cuts, or you had a card and you wanted just a little bit of glitter but didn't want to cover it. Same thing. Hairspray will work great because it's sticky for a second and then it dries quick. So that's what we're going to do. So I've got a little cotton candy, got my hairspray, and I'm just going to work in sections. And I'm going to hold the paper cone. I don't care if I get hairspray on my hands, it'll wash off, okay? So I'm going to keep my distance because I don't want to hose it. A little bit of hairspray, little glitter dusting.
It feels really good.
Turn it, little hairspray, little glitter dusting. Because you can always go back and add more, right? Just like doing your hair, you can always go back and add more. And wherever you want that to be, I think that's actually really good. And look at that. And so you can also use the hairspray to like tame those flyaways. Look at that. Little cotton candy flyaways. It's not perfect. So if I'm like, ooh, I want some more. Okay. I can go right over the area that I did before and I can dust it. But the idea of the glitter duster is still to keep that cottony look and feel of the spun sugar. That's it. Really simple. Okay. Super, super fun. Love it. Okay. That's how easy that was. Get that glitter out. And you could put that glitter back in, whatever you want to do. Couldn't be easier, right? Super easy. Absolutely. Okay. So next, we'll do popcorn. You guys good on cotton candy? Figured it out. And I'm going to show you some other things, because there's a lot of things that we can do with those elements. Let's see, do I want to do that now? I do actually. I'm going to totally change course. I'm going to keep going with the cone because, well, that's what I want to do. Because I want to show you other things you can do with the cone, because I think the cone is cute. So, because we'll still make the cards, but we're going to do two at once, so I'll get to popcorn in a minute. So we've got cotton candy. Another fun thing that you can do is you can really create what I think is something fun and whimsical, which would be party hats. So I don't really want to turn this, but I'll hold these guys up. These are little animals that I just made a little display. It's just super fun. All right, I glued his foot on even onto the plate. Ooh, there we go. Look at those little party hats. Now,
so cute.
When I talk about the cone size, that is what is hilarious about this. I've done party hats before, and party hats are typically kind of short and squatty, like when I did the ones for Halloween. But there's something about this. These little animals you can find at the craft store, toy store, dollar store. But I mean, give me a break. come on.
The
Okay,
juice.
so I'll show you how to do. The party hat's fun too, but here's some things to note of what we can do when it comes to party hats. It's the same cone, but I did a couple of things. So on this one, I used this cute little stamp of stars. You may just think it's polka dots, but look at those cute little stars. Oh my gosh. So I just use that. Even though it's not the cone stamp, right? We can use any stamp to stamp on that cone shape. And so I created that little one. This one, I used the stripes, but I stamped it twice because you can. There's enough space in between the lines to stamp it in a second color. So I created the orange and blue stripe just to create this one for the giraffe. Very, very cute. And if you're not new to these videos, you totally get the whole pom-pom thing.
Pom-poms for life.
It was years ago at this point now that I bought this lot of pom-poms from Amazon. It was like some of every color, and it's a bazillion. It's more than I will ever need. And if somebody would have sold a few of each color in a smaller lot, that would have been great. But hey, I have the time. I couldn't find this size pom-pom in great fun colors, and I found them. I love them because really they go great with so many different things. It is pom-pom love. Then the trim of the hats, I just picked these up at the craft store. You can pick them up at the craft store, the dollar store. They're just metallic stems. So they're kind of like, you know, the chenille stems, like a pipe cleaner, but these are metallic. And I just bent them up and put them around just because like a little sparkle, a little tinsel, really cute. So if you're going to do that, I'll just show you really quick on the stamping. Let's take that. Fun, right? Fun, something different. Because you can do little party hats on so many things. It's hilarious.
I like the double lines. That's
Yeah, they're
pretty cool.
fun.
Yeah, that is really neat.
I lucked out. I mean, we'll see if I can replicate it. Because it worked the first time, which usually doesn't work well for me. But hey, it worked this time. And I'm like, all right, I'll do that. Okay. So for this one, I just took the stamp. For this one, I just used archival. Why? I don't know. Like I said, you could totally have just done oxide like we did on the cotton candy. It just depends on what's in front of you. And at this particular moment, these were in front of me. So that's what I have. But again, you can use what you have. I think I did salvage patina and spice marmalade. Those are going to be the colors. Party hats on skulls. You know it, Zoe. And they're just hilarious because they're so tall and they're kind of like dunce cap-ish. And I think that's what also gives it like more of a whimsy. It's just funny. Okay. So I'm just going to take it. Same thing. Start by stamping. There we go. I'm going to clean this off. Just wiping it off with a towel. And then I just did the next color, a little orange. Let's see if that's cleaned up. If I don't use archival cleaner, sometimes a color will mud another color. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah. So if I don't want to clean a stamp, that's really my trick. I'll ink it up in a color, stamp it on scrap paper to get any like residual sludge from the previous color, if that makes sense. So if you like to stamp with a lot of colors of archival or any ink for that matter, to skip stamp cleaning, you can just put another color on there and use a piece of scrap paper to get the sludge. All right. So all I did was just kind of follow that straight line, but I shifted it down one row. And you can see through the stamp. So you kind of know that you're pretty good. And you're just going to stamp it again. And there you have it. Now we have our double striped. Boom. That's our party hat.
That's awesome.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
So it is very cute. And you could, of course, do this with your cotton candy as well. It's just fun. All right. So any kind of ink is going to work. It just depends on what you have and what you're going to use. All right. Move this to the side. I'm going to look for that later. So watch and see. And then I'll just cut this. I'll look for the stamp set that I just threw over there. Just because I didn't really know how this was going to go. All right. So again, when we're doing this, we don't want to take that die and worry about that arch. See? We just want to go along that straight edge down to the corner. Perfect. Use our little bit of tape. Put these back so it's not too crazy. I'm just putting back my archival inks real quick. too early in the demo to be this chaotic, I can assure you. Okay, get this. Where did I get the party balloons? Oh, probably, I probably, they're vintage. So, you know, I'm sure you could just find, it's a balloon cake topper, you know, they're just plastic. And I say but it was Mario, drilled a little wood bingo piece, a little trick I learned from Paula, and then just stuck them in there. But it made for a fun display because the animals, they're hilarious. They're so fun. So I would suggest, like, you know, they're for birthday cakes. So you can Google like balloon cake topper and I'm sure you'll find them. Okay. There's our little hat. Put the die back. Okay. Same thing. So here's where I said we're going to make another one, just so you get the idea. Simple, simple. Relax the paper. I'm not thinking about it. If you want to use a paintbrush or a pencil or anything, go ahead. But again, I just feel like that I'm trying to do something that I don't need to do. Okay, then I'm going to work on that little corner because I said that's the one that always kind of messes me up, is that first little corner, because it doesn't want to make the curl later. All right, then I've got my squeezers. I'll get my glue and off we go. So same thing, and just don't worry about it. You know, sometimes I've made many of these cones and some of them, they were just a hot mess. It just didn't want to work, but the glue was very forgiving. So see, I start by rolling that point, and once I get that started, it just allows me to like follow up with everything else, see, to line up those stripes. And then once you have that, you just take the squeezers and you just put that right down the seam just to hold it. So there you go. It would be great for unicorn, great for a lot of things. Party hat, party fun. So let's do a pom-pom for that one too. This one we're going to do an orange one because, well, I have it. I even have different shades of orange. Let's see. Ooh, we'll do a light orange. My word. So many. Who needs this many pom-poms?
Oh, someone asked the size of those?
Dinky. I don't know the size. I'd have to look it up, but like it's, I don't know.
Oh, I'll go look.
Oh, Mario can look it up. It was really tiny. I couldn't find, like, I found some tinies like in a mixed package at the craft store. And besides that, the colors were all primary. You know, there weren't anything fun. They still only gave like 4 or 5 of the little tiniest ones. And they're not the micro ones, you know, they're like a little 1/8 or 1/4, but Mario will get you the official count. Okay, so glue this on, a little bit of hot glue. You can use whatever kind of glue you want, but I'm just going to take a little hot glue, put it right on the tip, do a little swirl to get rid of the strings, grab onto the pom-pom, and just press that right down. So much like the cotton candy, I want to press the pom-pom down onto the point, just so it looks more in. Cute, right?
1 centimeter pom-pom.
1 centimeter pom-pom. See, that's why because I was looking at like, you know, 1/4 inch or 3/8 or whatever, but it's a 1 centimeter pom-pom. Now you have it. There you go. Look at that hat. Cute. And then this, there were no tricks on this. I just made a little circle. I mean, this is something that maybe you want to use a pencil or whatever on, and I just made sure that it went around, that it fit. Yep, it did. And then I just cut it. And for this, because, you know, I added this, you'd think I didn't have this figured out. I put it on, I'm like, it needs a little trim. So I added these after it was already on the head. So all I did for that is, you know, I just opened this, put it on, put a little bit of that craft glue. But I think if you're going to make them, I would just use the craft glue. Hot glue is, I mean, when it comes to something shiny and frilly, hot glue could kind of backfire on you. So I would just, you know, put this around and then just go in with a little bit of craft glue, you know, set this flat and tack it on. But yeah, get the idea. Cute, isn't it? It's so, I just think a whole little lineup of party hats is going to be great. Okay, moving on. So we did party hats. Hilarious. We'll put these back into our, I don't know if they're going to stand up now in the beads without being glued, but That's another trick if you're ever looking just to display for fun. You can hot glue onto a plate. It's not going to ruin it, and then you could just take it right back off. Oh, see, that's just hilarious.
So cute.
It's so fun.
The balloons are so awesome.
It's really fun. Oh, we're going to see if the giraffe is already teetering. Okay, so we did cones. We did party hats. I need to just, I'm going to put this around so I don't lose it, because now I have a party hat made for after this. Okay, moving on. Now we can talk about popcorn. Popcorn is a blast. Popcorn is one of those, again, compartmental making, get into it and kind of go for it. I love the idea of creating not just this great dimensional box, but just the dimensional popcorn itself. It's really easy. So here's how we're going to do this one. We're going to do the box, and then we'll get back and do the cards, because the card is the same for both. Okay. So what we're going to need, we're going to work with the popcorn dies. So the popcorn dies, that's going to be, I'll find it. Just to kind of recap, that was our cone die that we just did for the party hats and the cotton candy. And again, if you didn't get the kit, you can still just get the cone die and buy it by itself if you want. So here's the popcorn that we're doing. Very different. It's cute. So we're going to take all of our dies, and I'm just going to give you some tricks. And these tricks really are not how you have to do it. This is how I did it. You do you, okay? I just like to show the way that it works for me. It may not work for you. Okay, I'm just going to take, for the box itself, I'm going to just take a piece of white. This is white heavy stock, but it could be white cardstock. We're out of the whole copy paper realm. The copy paper realm was for paper cones only. Everything else now we're going into cardstock. So I'm just going to use a piece of white heavy stock because I want the box something smooth. Now, could you do it in watercolor paper? Yeah, if you're going to do watercolor paper, let me get a piece. I'm sure I have a smaller piece. Oh, I'll just take a bigger piece. Right? We can do watercolor paper. I'll just use the smooth side of that. So it could be either one. You know, maybe you don't have something like this, but maybe you have watercolor, but you don't want to use the bumpy side. We want to work with the smoothie side. So could be either one. Let's do that. So all I do is figure out, like, okay, it's pretty much how much I'm going to need. I'll just chop this. So again, any cardstock you want. But we're going to start with the stamp. So just like any other thing, I find it easier to stamp first and then use my die. But you do whatever it is that you need to do. So I'm taking my stripes. There you go. Put it on whatever size block you want. Excellent. That's going to backfire on me. My giant fingers are not going to want to let that go. Okay, I just moved to a bigger block. So back to my lumberjack plaid. That seems to be like the whole Carnival circus red. And again, see, I'm using ink. Like, I'm not just lightly touching. Like, it's felt. Felt has to be pressed to get ink out of it. That's what makes your ink pads stay wet, because the ink itself is in the pad. Okay. Good, Mario?
Good, yeah.
Okay. Had to fix some things.
It was a little behind when I.
Yeah. It was
slow,
way
slow,
behind.
so
Yeah.
I got it caught up now.
Thanks. All right. So I'm just going to stamp on the smoothie side. Done. Doesn't really matter if it's wonky, because we're going to die cut this. Okay. Going to clean this off. I'm just using some water and a little cloth. Again, whatever ink. I do love that. Lumberjack plaid, like that red is just such, it's just such a good red. It's the perfect deep blue, cherry red, happy, yum. Okay, so here's the stamp. So notice the stamp is kind of in this V form. It's very easy to use with the die, because what you're going to do is you're going to line up the middle break of the die in that middle break of the lines, and you're going to bring this right down to the bottom. That's it. Because the stamp is actually just slightly, I'm going to say slightly taller than the die itself. And you can see the blade is on the inside, not the outside. So when I'm moving this down, as long as that inside is like right there on that line, it's going to be good. Okay. So let me just position this, get myself a little bit of tape. All right. Is it still lagging behind, or are we good?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. If not, you could just tell me that. That's it. Oh yeah, I see. It would be really good with that Mickey Mouse die. So cute. I'd probably do like Disney colors on the popcorn box, you know, like do some teal. So Could you stamp all of them? You could if you were going to do something dimensional, but we're really only seeing the front, so that's why the stamp was designed the way it was designed. All right. Get my sidekick. And we're just going to run it through. So I've just taped it down. So there you can see the positioning. Oh, it's a little off. Let me scooch this just a bit. I just saw it as soon as I held it up to the camera. What I like about the camera helps me kind of see it. There we go. So that's what we want. Just kind of want that down the center-ish. It's a box. They're printed. There we go. Run this through. All right. There's our box. Perfect, cute, fun, simple. Okay, we have it. Then you have a little label circle piece. That's this. That's just to give it like a little graphic. You don't have to use it, but it's certainly fun to use. So I'm just going to use that little leftover bit of cardstock, and I'm going to cut that out. That could be pattern paper, it could be a color, it could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, there's that. Gone, gone. All right. So next we're going to talk about the popcorn. We need to do a little prep work. I think you should. You don't have to. You can just cut it right out of cardstock. You could use yellow cardstock. You can use whatever you want. I just want to make some, butter paper is what I want to make. I want to make some buttered popcorn paper. Just kind of gives you a head start. It also creates, in my opinion, a little bit more rando on the back, but again, works this way for me. So what I'm going to do for this is take a piece of distressed watercolor cardstock, and again, I'm going to work on the smooth side. That's how I created this. And you can use whatever size. You don't need an A2 size for a popcorn box. You really only need half of it. But if I'm going to ink it, I'm going to ink myself another piece. So if I'm going to ink it on camera, I'm ready to do it. What I'm going to need is some type of craft mat. Okay. I'm just using this one from Tonic, but you can use whatever. But I don't like the effect of just using ink on glass for this technique. I want, oh, there's a piece of popcorn under there. I want this kind of non-stick coated mat because my ink is going to work differently. You can use ink pads. You could use sprays if you want to use sprays. You could use really whatever it is that you want to use. For me, I'm just going to work with oxide. So this is, the mini one comes in the kit. If you didn't have that color, scattered straw, I'm just going to use a large one, but this is the color that's in the kit. And I'm just going to just push that down. So again, I'm not lightly swiping, I'm pushing because I'm getting some ink out of the pad. Then I'm going to take some water because this is reactive. Spray to create the droplets. You can see those droplets right there. So I don't need to hose it down. Maybe I want a little bit more over there. And that's it. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take the smooth side. We're not putting it in there and dragging or swirling or doing, some little flyby. We're just going to go in and start tapping it into that. We're going to flip it over and we're going to dry it. Okay. So we want ink. We want little dots. You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. It's just better this way. Okay. So I'm going to dry this with a heat tool. We're going to do this in layers. That's what's going to create, I think, a better effect. And it gives you a huge head start. Okay. Now, when you're drying paper, if you can get in the habit of holding it up off the table, it'll dry in half the time because you're allowing the heat to pass through the paper versus drying it on a glass mat or something solid because all the moisture builds up underneath it. So, and we don't need this to be crispy dry. We just want it to look like it's starting to dry. So see how those colors change as they start to dry? You get the little dark outlines. That's what we're going for. But these little drips on the edges, you don't have to keep going. It's good enough. We can go in and dip again. So same rules. We're just going to go in. It's almost like splashing in a puddle. So notice I'm like tapping with my fingers. I'm not smashing it down and I'm always holding onto the paper. So I'm never laying it down and pushing. I'm just splashing in the puddles. And you can see what you have. If you don't have enough, maybe you want more there. If you push down, I'll show you, that's going to distribute more ink in an area. So if you ever need more ink, then pressing is going to work, but we're going to dry it. It's all about layers. So good. This color is just, it's buttery goodness. Butter paper. That's right, Christine. It's my favorite kind too. It is. It just makes it a little easier. That's all. And as you dry in between your layers, that's what's building up not only our color, but the character of this paper. Okay? Can you see? We're just getting all of those great little drips. And we're going to keep going in here. So here I have drips, but you can, I don't know if you can, camera picks it up, but the ink right here is starting to dry. So if I just add a couple more sprays of water, not much, I'm going to go back in and keep working this ink. So if you're working with a mini ink pad, you may need to like reapply ink at that point. But see, you're just going to get it until you're happy with it. It's just a start. It's just a background. Okay, there we go. There you go. I'm telling you, see, it looks like melted butter. It's magic. Okay, so once you're done, I'm just gonna wipe that off. That's all I really need from this point, because I'm gonna show you just some different ways that we can do this. I'll take this mat off. I like the mat just because it has those corners, but there's our paper. So you have a couple of pieces of like buttery paper to start. Okay, so for our butter, we're gonna need our little popcorn head start, and we're gonna need the kernels. So typically, again, I just kind of line it up to that size. Oops, open that up. Hey, flip this open, there you go. You can tell my scissors didn't want to cut already. There we have it, and we've got some popcorn kernels. So back it comes. So I just decide what I want where. Like, do I want something darker? I'll put it there. Do I want it lighter? It doesn't really matter because this is going to get covered up. So I'm going to go with the light because actually the kernels are what's going to show up. So I'm just going to lay these down, just random. And you know, you can use it depending on space. You could be like, oh, I'll put these close together so I can cut out a few more kernels. Great. You don't need to tape any of this stuff. If it moves around, great. As long as it doesn't jump on top, that's perfect. Okay. Run that through. Perfect. We'll talk about some popcorn. So what we're going to want is we're going to just take a little die pick that I have. I know I do. Snapper. It's going to be in.
How about this?
Thanks, Mario.
Sure.
I don't know where it is. It's probably really close to me. It doesn't matter. It's like we have craft picks, die picks. That's why we buy more than one tool, let's face it, because, you know, it just goes somewhere else. Okay. So here I'm just going to poke these pieces out. Did you find it?
No,
I had it.
well, mine's gone too. So
But that's the one I took.
You probably have two.
No, I took yours because, well, yours had a cap and I liked it. I was like, oh, I'll take Mario's. His has a cap. And now I just lost Mario's. That's all right. Look, it's the story of the maker life. It is our way. Okay.
Oh,
Here's what's cute about the popcorn. It not only cuts it, but it also cuts out like these little pieces.
Bam.
Oh, thanks, Mario. I do like a die pick for that because it's more of a blunt pick and it's not as sharp as a craft pick. So it's just what I like. You're going to want to clean out your die every time. So these little tiny dots, believe it or not, you just need to poke those out of your die because we want these tiny little holes in the kernels to cut every time. See? So those little dots will stay in the die. You're going to take that out. But we've got great little popcorn. Very cute. Now, what I would suggest when you're doing popcorn is get in the groove. Put on a movie, put on some music, maybe have some popcorn, and just cut popcorn. For each box of popcorn that I did, I used 3 sets, so 12 pieces of popcorn. Maybe you don't want that much popcorn. Maybe you don't want it overflowing. Maybe you don't want some at the bottom. Maybe you don't want some here. But mine, I used 12 pieces. So it did this 3 times, okay? And then as I was doing it, Mario and his timely genius go, hey, do you need any help with anything? I'm like, if you wouldn't mind just sitting here and like cutting up a couple sheets of this. And he just made a whole bucket of popcorn. So like, don't overthink it. Don't like, oh, I need to keep the pieces by size and shape. Oh, come on. Just, you have popcorn. All right. So we've got our popcorn pieces. So that's what we've done. We have our box, our label, our inside filler, and a bunch of pieces of popcorn. That's what we did. Of course, we used our butter paper. So we got a head start. All right.
You know people are going to want butter
So
paper
far.
now.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds delicious. Okay. Oh, did I move it? Thanks, Mario. Okie doke. Time to build. I'm just going to put things back. Because if I don't, now you know what happens to things even like the die pick. Just use a magnet sheet. Okay. Ready? Simple. The box. Not only does it cut, but it already does the score line. So you're just going to use the score lines and you're just going to fold it. Okay. You don't need a paper creaser. You could, remember, this is watercolor cardstock, or it could be heavy stock. So even with something thick, but can you see the dimension of the box? Isn't that cool? It already has that little rise in the back. Excellent. Okay. For the box itself, use whatever glue or tape. I'm just going to use craft glue, but I'm also going to use hot glue as well when I do mine. I'll show you why. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there. I'm going to line this up. See, just on the back. And I'm just going to hold it. You can also, this one's easy that you can just put your fingers in there just to press that and hold that. You can also use your squeezers, just like the other one. Okay. There we go. It's that stamp set again. Let's take out some popcorn. So I know I'm going to need 12 pieces. So let's just go. Ish. You know, I don't think I haven't built one yet where I've had leftovers, and maybe because I always pre-count 12 pieces and then I'm like, oh, I have 12 pieces, I'm going to use them all if they're here, right? 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Let's use, I'm not being too picky, but I just need a smaller one. There we go. Because I love that they're all different sizes, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Look at all that popcorn left. Okay. So far, so good. Excellent. Next, we're going to have our little inside piece and our popcorn. So what you can do is you can do a little inking, and I like doing that. So that's what I'm going for. What's up? All right, let's just take this. How do you, something non-stick, I see magnetic sheet, but what do you put that into? Oh, I just put the magnetic sheet into a die envelope. You can buy a die storage envelope from, someone asked that I put the dies on the magnet, but what do I put the magnet sheets in? There's different envelopes, and so these magnet sheets, these are actually vent covers that I buy at Home Depot hardware store, and you can cut them. So I just cut it to the size of whatever envelope you have. So this way, if you have a source for an envelope that you like, or maybe whatever, you know, whatever you're storing in, you cut that, and then that just fits into an envelope. When I say envelope, like a clear pocket. So you can really do whatever works for you. Some people have different bins that are a certain size. So yeah, whatever works.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So we're going to work on some butter. So I'm just going to take a tiny blending tool. I'm just going to put some scattered straw oxide. You could do ink as well, ink or oxide. I just think that this just makes a little bit more of a creamy, buttery look. But see how when I use the ink, so remember the background's done with oxide as well, but it's how you apply an ink, you can get kind of a tone-on-tone effect. So I'm just going to quickly ink these pieces, not overthinking. Notice they're in my hand. They're not on the table where I'm doing a circular motion trying to blend like a background. Sometimes you want to do that if you're doing edges of a card, but if you're doing die pieces, this is what makes this tiny blending tool so much easier to use. And there's plenty of ink on there. That's what you saw, how I really inked it up by swiping it across the ink pad. So you also don't need to go back in every single time to get more ink. Just do the edges, but see how it just gives it, I mean, I'll show you one of the pieces that inked. See just those little edges? It just brings on a little bit more butter. But hey, if you want to do caramel corn, you want to do something that's more cooked or charred, go for it. You can add as much ink to your popcorn as you want, as much butter to the corn as you want, right? Some people like extra butter.
Yes, please.
Nothing wrong with that. But most of the time when I demo, I just try to give tips because I think sometimes people, you know, assume like, oh, every time I, you know, use it, I need to re-ink it. Yeah, if you're out of ink, yes, but if you see ink coming off, it's really good. Okay, that's it. We've got our buttered popcorn ready to assemble. So yeah, I did this in a previous video. I have tiny tools devoted. I have one for ink and one for oxide. So that works. Okay, time to build. So we've got our popcorn box, the scallop side up. We've got our insert. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of craft glue just on the sides of this. Then I'm going to take the popcorn and it goes right into the box. So you can see that you push down on the box so it opens up. It's like open wide. Then kind of let it relax and you slide this all the way down until it stops. See those first little things? And I just wipe off the excess glue with my finger. So there you have it. It's just done. You don't even have to think about it. So that's how it sits, kind of right in the divide. So that's why I put glue on the edges. Okay. Perfect. Label. I think I'll do the label now. Why not? I'm just going to take the glue just because it's already out. Well, and it was working a second ago. See, that's why I take advantage. The thing about this glue, if you just kind of run your fingers over it, it unclogs, which is nice. And I'm just going to stick that label on the side. I definitely see like a little Disney popcorn box in my future out of those like old retro colors. Okay. I'm just going to let that set because we need to focus now on our popcorn. We want to create a puffy magic. This is the fun part. My word. Okay. Heat and Fluff. It's this stuff. Simon Says Stamp. $2.99 for this magic thing. And it's the tip of this bottle and the viscosity that I think is far superior to what I remember in my Ben Franklin days with puffy paint. You know, it was like, it was thick. I think it was called like liquid applique or something. It was really kind of puffy. All right. Yeah. I see people talking about Nuts on Clark, Garrett's, any of those. Okay. So you can come up with whatever system is going to work well for you. You can work a piece at a time. You can work multiple pieces at a time. It just depends on how quick you work and what sort of things are going to, I don't know, like I wouldn't do this step and walk away is what I'm trying to tell you. Like if you're going to do the Heat and Fluff, like be in it. So here's what you need. You need this, the Heat and Fluff. You're going to need tweezers or a pokey tool. I prefer to do tweezers, but again, if you want to just use a craft pick, go right ahead. And then you're going to need an embossing gun. Now, if you have a heat tool, like I've been using for the background, you can use it. It's just going to take a little bit longer for the Heat and Fluff. So right now I'm plugging in my embossing gun. So that would be something that's more focused because both of these heat up to the same temperature. This diffuses heat, which is why it's my favorite for inks and backgrounds and mixed media and all of those things to dry things. But to emboss, I want to focus the heat in a direct area to either get embossing powder to melt faster or to get the Heat and Fluff to fluff faster. Okay, but like this will work. You just have to do it longer and it's just going to take a while for that heat to focus in one area. So that's why I switch to heat guns. Two completely different tools for different reasons, in my opinion. Okay, so when I do the popcorn, we live in Arizona. I don't have any fans running overhead or anything at this point, but I work about 6 pieces at a time because I have found that this fluffs better if it's still wet. Because I've done stuff where, you know, I tried to do all the pieces, went back, and the ones that started to dry just didn't fluff as much. But maybe you live in a, you know, more of a humid area that you could do all the pieces and maybe you might even have lunch and go back. But this is what I'm doing. All right. So we're just going to take this. This is what I'm talking about. Like, look at this tiny little tip. It's fab. Okay. So I'm just going to, I'll just do one in the air and then the rest I'm going to do on the table. All I'm doing is taking this and I'm just going to squeeze out some of this, but I'm dabbing it. I don't want to make like polka dots. I want to make like weird patterns. So I almost kind of get a little, like a little shakety shake in my hand because I want it to just go in areas, but kind of be thick, but also kind of a wild blob. You see that? That's like perfect popcorn. In other words, I'm not doing polka dots because I don't want polka dot popcorn. Okay. So I'm going to just leave that there. So that's what I'm going to do on all these. I just go in and just, so I am kind of drawing with the tip a little bit, but I'm squeezing it at the same time and I'm doing little skippity bits. And on bigger pieces, I'm obviously doing some bigger blobs. So I'm not drawing a straight line. I'm not doing one polka dot. I'm just looking at the piece of popcorn and I'm really focusing it on the middle area, not the cutouts. Like I said, I do about 6 at a time because I know that I can go back and heat them. When I'm done, I just wipe that off with my finger and this cap just clicks on, clicks off, clicks on. Okay, Then you're going to take your squeezers. I'm going to slide each piece off on my mat. I'm going to grab the end of it and use my embossing gun. Just going to heat it up for a second. And you just point at it. This is the cool part, because most of the time, like in mixed media and texture paste, you're like, I don't want to do that. It's going to ruin it. Look at that. The popcorn popped. Isn't that wild? And then I turn off the tool, set that down. It's magical. And you can go back and you can fluff over the fluff. Like if you want more puff, we'll watch. See, it's just like the kernel popped right before your eyes. Isn't that wild? So cool. And I would imagine if you really focus with your heat tool, you might even get some burnt popcorn. I don't know. But yeah, if you do this and you think, hey, you know what? I didn't get enough stuff on there, you could reapply it. I'll even do it on this one just to show you. So see, I got like that one little dot. It's going to puff up. But see what I mean? Like how it puffs different. See how like it blisters? That to me is what's different from this to like liquid applique, because liquid applique was like a little bit more refined, I guess. So for this one, I'll just leave it on the squeezer, and then I'll just add like another little drizzly bit on it. And I love that this stuff is sold separate because, well, I already know I'm going to need, yeah, because it's going to be great for snow, all sorts of stuff. All right, so I just added more. And you'll see it. You just watch until it puffs up. Look at that. Oh, so good. Okay. That's what we're doing. We're popping popcorn. How fun is that? I see someone said their hands are perfect for the shakety shake. That's really the best way to do it. I can't stress that enough. The more rando, it just pops and blisters different, because see, thick and thin,
It's so cool.
that's where you get like that fun effect. Because the first time I did it, I'll admit, the first time I did this, I was way more like precise. I was like, you know, following the kernel and doing dots. And I'm like, this doesn't look good at all. But see, even that little bit blisters. It's so fun. Popping popcorn. Who knew, right? Who knew?
It's so fun to watch.
Yeah. And I think the tube is like something crazy, like $2.99 or something. It's great. Going to be great for snow and all sorts of things. All right, let's get this other corn going. So again, you just squeeze it and shakety shake. And I say this because, you know, a lot of times we'll see a product and it's like, you know, you may not understand it or you may understand it, but even the application alters the effect. You know, that's what I think. I mean, popcorn's already just great and delicious. It was great and delicious when it was, you know, just die cut and colored. But now that it's fluffy, great. Yeah, it would make water foam. There's a lot of ideas. I see people throwing out so many ideas. All right. That's so fun.
Wow.
And this is what I was saying, that like if you used another heat tool, it would do it. It's just going to take longer. Now, it is a white base. And I think when Heidi was live, where people saying, can you color it? Can you do this? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I know that you can color over this. So this is now inkable. So you could go over it with your, you know, distress inks or oxide or whatever, and you could go over the top. I saw people saying like brains and, you know, maybe you're doing frosting or who knows what. So I would probably go that route. I would say that if I was going to attempt to color it, I'd probably color it with paint, like try to mix it with paint, because this is white opaque, which means if you added ink, it would just stay pastel. And I think the ink might make it too runny, but you know, there again, maybe maybe Simon Says we'll have different colors coming out. But for now, I would just say that if you really wanted it to be a color, I would ink it afterwards. But on my popcorn, I didn't ink it. So I'll show you up there, because, you know, you might be thinking, well, hey, why didn't you just add this stuff first and then ink the edges? Because I wanted the contrast. You know, to me, popcorn is not just yellow. it has yellow and white and all those little things. Got one more piece. It's very quick. See what I mean? Like if you had a movie on or something, I would do all these steps to my popcorn, not just cut it. Oh my gosh. So much fun. Seriously, just love it. Okay, done with that. Now I'm just going to, yeah, I see puffy clouds, marshmallows. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun during the holidays to do like, you know, cocoa and then put that on and yeah, do a little marshmallow topping. Okay, here we go. So there you go. You can see see the popcorn stays white, but maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want to go over it with a little ink. Go for it. So here's how we just do the popcorn. Popcorn again, no thought involved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my mat because I'm going to use hot glue. You can use hot glue on a glass mat, but if you've ever done a hot glue on a glass mat, then you realize you probably shouldn't have done the hot glue on the glass mat because you have to scrape it all off and it likes to smear. So could you glue directly on your glass mat? Yes, it's just messy. That's all. Ooh, that one I didn't heat that one enough. I got a little, now I'm gonna have to finish it because I've already switched out. Let me just go down here and just do this. I'm just gonna be here for a second because I didn't, huh? Well, yeah. Well, because I didn't heat this one enough and I stuck my finger in it and it was still gooey. It wasn't popped. One of those unpopped kernels. Okay. I was just trying to move the mat. Oh, we'll be all right. Okay, so all I do is I just take a glue gun and I just start with like drops of glue. So there's a dot. I take a piece of corn and I put it in there. So I'm not pressing it flat in there. I'm just going for it. So now we're going to take that ugly piece of popcorn that I stuck my finger in and we're going to hide that one in the back. So again, a dot of glue and you just stick that in. So see how they're just going to start sitting in there all haphazardly. That's all. Just something different. But if you want to just go and use like regular craft glue, that's fine too. I just like the whole idea of just the dimension. But instead of putting the glue on each piece, you know, and risk obviously, you know, burning my hand, I'm just adding it into the box because then you know like where to put a piece, give or take. All right, and I'm going to take, I think this big piece will be good. I'm kind of picking out the pieces that I want to put like maybe on the front or the side. I'm doing that now. So I'll have that and maybe I'll do this one on the side. Okay, so then these other ones I'm just gonna tuck them in. So again, a little dot of glue. And there will be times, you'll see that there's going to be times where I actually do apply the glue to the popcorn itself, because once you kind of fill in the space, now you need to start tucking that in, and I find it easier to just apply glue to the popcorn itself. Just proceed with caution. So again, it's a dot. So now I've got a little dot of glue, and now I can just go like right in there and see, have that one kind of exploding out of the box. It's fun and simple, and it does give it the dimension. But the trick is like have a good glue gun, really. If you bought a glue gun for $1.99 and you're like, it works, it's really about having a detail tip. That's what kind of changed the whole hot glue world for me, because it makes all the difference. I mean, it's really hot. You can see like, this is my demo one. I have a nicer one that I got for the class that I use that has a detail tip, but see mine, like that's what happens if you leave your glue gun on overnight, which you never should. It just cooks right through the tip. All right. And I think this one I'm going to have kind of like spilling out over the box, like popping out. That's fun. Then these bottom pieces, same thing. And you don't have to do them at the bottom. I just think like if I'm going to put it on a card, it just makes for some fun dimension. Uh-oh, I see an emoji challenge happening.
It's hiding.
Yeah. It's a cute emoji though, huh?
It is.
But I also think like when you take out the fear factor of stuff, that's also something important, because you think like, oh my gosh, that must take forever. It doesn't. Everything's compartmental. Do boxes, do, you know, do your stamping and cutting and have a bunch of boxes and switch up your colors and do popcorn, and you can do caramel corn. I saw somebody say, you know, you can do like color patriotic corn. You can do anything you want, whatever you feel like doing. And then this one, I'm just going to put a little bit. You could use hot glue, but this is a label, so I don't want that particular one to stick out. There we go. It's just starting. There we have it. All right. Got a little too much glue. And we'll put our kernel.
So it's Heidi, show Tim some emojis if you
Cute.
like popping popcorn with him.
That's right. What'd you do today? Oh, we just watched pop popcorn. Yay. Okay. Done. That comes off. And our popcorn. I mean, seriously, isn't it cute? So just imagine all these little boxes of popcorn. All right. So now we're going to talk about some cards and we're going to move on to some other things. I have a lot of stuff. Believe it. Oh, Snapdragon. Oh, that's okay. That was just a bubble. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about these cards. Now, the thing about cards is, you know, I saw a lot of questions where it was like, hey, oh, thanks, Zoe. People were like, hey, how do you mail these? You mail it the way you mail any other heavy thing or thick thing. You put it in a bubble mailer if you're going to mail it. And that's okay because you got to have people that are worth a little extra postage, right? I think that should be a stamp. Sometimes friends like you are worth a little extra postage. There you go. You can write that down, Heidi. That's a good stamp. Friends like you are worth a little extra postage because these, they're perfect. They're great, dimensional, fun, bulky things. So I'm going to just show you how to create this card because this card is done exactly the same. You see, I just switched out colors. And I think once you kind of find a rhythm, that even makes it easier where you're like, oh, I like this background. Well, then make a bunch of them. Then you can just slap something on it each time you want to go. So I think that's good. So here's what we have kind of already figured out. Ready? I'm starting with the background cards, and these are the 4-bar cards. So those are the smaller cards that I talked about that are in the kit, but you can get these separate, but you can do whatever size you want. I'm just getting through the measurements because people will ask and then my brain won't go back to it. Then I cut distressed watercolor cardstock. So the panel, because that's what we're going to do. All of our inky, colory fun is going to be on a watercolor panel. That's 3 by 4 1/4. So it's small. And I did it that way, not to be even on the measurement, but to yield more out of my card, right? Because it's 8.5 by 11. So I did the 8.5 side, did the 4 1/4, and then I just cut it at 3. And then I just wanted some color cardstock just for a little color around the edge. And so I cut that just 1/8 of an inch larger. So it's like 3 1/8 by 4 3/8, just to have a little mat. So again, if you're into measurements, but you can just eyeball it, but that's really what it is. Okay. So here's how we're going to do it. I like to work because this paper, although these are great card bases, this is not a great inking paper. I don't like how it took ink. I tried to do this technique directly on the card front and I just didn't like it. But hey, maybe you like it. But I know in all of my years of creating backgrounds and techniques that cardstock makes all the difference. And so sometimes you try to do something on the wrong paper and you get frustrated, and it's really the right paper makes a difference. So those are my card bases. So we're going to do our watercolor cardstock, and here's how we're going to do it. In order to achieve the effect of these cards, I chose the same color, but I used the ink and the oxide version of that color. Okay, and here's why. So for example, on the popcorn, I used melted butter, aka scattered straw, in distress ink and oxide. And for the cotton candy, no surprise, I used spun sugar, which spun sugar is just another way of cotton candy or candy floss. So spun sugar is that way. Again, ink and oxide. And here's why. The background is done with ink because I wanted something very watercolory. I wanted really light washed out color. And I know that ink will give me more of a translucent wash. Then I wanted to stamp in the same color to just be more of an accent and not be overwhelming. I did that really cool burst in the stamp set. I told you that was my favorite one. And I stamped that in the same color, but in oxide, because oxide is dye and pigment. So I knew that the pigment would be opaque. It would stand out more, even though it's the same color on the same color. So if you ever want to create a background and you want things to kind of to be there, but not necessarily be in the foreground, just stick to the same color, just switch your mediums. Distress ink is going to give you the most intense color, but also the most washed out color when you add water, whereas oxide is going to have that pigment, so it'll give you the opacity of a color. Okay, here's how we do it. You can do these backgrounds so many different ways, but because I knew that I wanted my backgrounds to include white space, I wanted a little bit more control of this. And I'm sure you've seen this a bazillion times, except where in the groove is that? Here it is. It's just a piece of acetate. Could it be anything? It could have even been, it could be packaging for that matter. But you know what? I'm sentimental like that. So here we go. So I'm going to take a piece of acetate. Could be anything you want to use. This is just a piece I've had forever and I just use it in my stamping, but it's hard because you can't see it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually put some tape on the ends so it has handles, and then I'll always see it. That's what I'm going to do after this live. Okay, I'm going to take Distress ink and I'm just going to smash some down on the center. You can't see much of it, but I'll hold it up. See, there's like, no, you can't. There's very little, but you can see that there's some ink there. Then I'm going to take some water. I'm going to spray it on there. Now you can see that color. Then on the smooth side of the watercolor paper, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to bend this up, and I'm just going to do kind of a little roll. I'm not making a print. I'm actually bending that, and I'm just going to like roll across the paper, pick this up, kind of tap it a couple of other ways. Some people have called this kissing. They do a lot of things, but it gives me control, see, of like, I can see that little ink spot. And so I know that if I touch it over here, I'm going to get little ink spots. See that? And if I want some color, I can smooth it out. I'm going to flip this back over so it's wet side up, because that's my first layer. So just like our butter paper, we're doing the same thing, but this way, instead of smashing it, it just allows a little bit more control to maintain white space. That's all. So spun sugar is great because it's such a really nice light color. Okay, it's dry, but it's not crispy dry. So it's still a little wet, which is great because the next thing will blend in. So I'm going to go back to that same sheet. Still has all that great ink and goodness on there. And now I'm just going to go in. If I want to move color, I can take my thumb, see with my thumb, and I can move color wherever you want. It just gives you a totally different control as to where and how you put ink. If you push on it, you'll move it out. And if you just touch it, you'll get little dots. Simple.
That is some really cool magic.
There's our background. Off we go.
That's wizardry.
It's an old school technique, but sometimes, you know, you just see it and you're like, well, why didn't you just smash it in? You absolutely could. It just depends on what you want as your outcome. That's all it is. And so once I've kind of achieved, I'll call it the character, you know, the drips and the drops, then if I want to fill in any space, like maybe up here, I want a little bit more color, then I'll just take really whatever is left on there and you just push it out, because it is just going to give you enough color. I don't go back and ink because, I mean, if you wanted more intense color, yes, but see, I was just able to like fill in that, but in a very light way, if that makes sense. And then this, like, I've used it all. So just wipe this off with a paper towel, or you can use a cloth, and then you're ready for the next color if you can find it. Okay. You know, so let's say you have pieces down here. So see these two dots down here? These are dots that have been there since I started and they're still not dry. So I'll go in with a paper towel, and that often means it has a lot of ink, and I like that it leaves that little white ring. So instead of cooking it, I like just having that little pattern there. Okay, so there's our background. Very controlled, but very kind of speckly, playful, fun. Okay, then we've got our little starburst. So it could be whichever one. I just love the size of this. Nina and I wanted to make sure that it was sized bigger than the cotton candy and the popcorn because we wanted it to show behind it. So I'll place this down, and now I'm switching from ink to oxide. Why? Because I want that image to just be more visible. So tap, 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 tap. Really get the ink on there. The more you tap, I just think the better that's going to be from a ink perspective. And you can decide, you know, where you want the top and the bottom to be. You know, like I like this color, so I'm going to have that be the bottom. And this, you can position it like, you know, it's not perfectly circular. It's kind of wonky. So I just embrace the wonkiness of it. Place it down. Just give it some pressure. I'm just using a grid block, so that's going to be great. And there's our burst. So it's subtle, but it's there. I didn't want to see it. If you wanted to see it, you could have used a darker color. I just like something, especially if you're creating a background. And to me, this was still part of the background. And the background is called a background because it's in the background. There you go. You're welcome. There we have it. Okay. Next up, I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle. I don't know if you can see that because the camera loves to blow out that glitter. But here, on both of these, there's some distress spritz. So it's like this beautiful, there you go. You can kind of see it before the camera blows out because of all this white. But these little pearlescent metallic-y speckles all over the backgrounds using distress spritz. So that's what I'm going to do next. So for this one, I use Kitsch Flamingo. In this instance, I just looked at the color of pearl in these bottles, and that's all I went by. I'm like, okay, I want something that's a light pink. I didn't want picked raspberry. I didn't want it to be super bright. And spritz doesn't come in every color, so there was not spun sugar, and we didn't have scattered straw, but fossilized amber is really going to be good. So for this, shake it up, but we're not going to spritz it. We're going to splatter it. So I'm just going to take a splat box, take a paper towel, shake this up because I still want to mix it up. Okay, just to make sure I don't have any sludge there. But now I'm just going to use the schnozzle and I'm going to tap on the black part. And it's just going to, the straw is kind of strange. It's just going to kind of go where it wants to go. But you'll see it's just going to create a big splatter. Now, when you do that, keep this part away from your background because there's a liquid up in there. And so if you sometimes flick too hard, there's going to be a big drop that comes out. So just see like that drip right there. Just stay away and just tap, tap, tap. Just kind of move. You can focus a little bit more. And so each time I'm just dipping more, kind of like, you know, if you're blowing bubbles, just get a little bit more solution on there. And if you need to move it around because like I can't get that corner, instead of being a contortionist, just move the paper. I'm just going to dip. There we go. Okay. Put that on. And we're going to dry it. It'll air dry on its own, but there's a lot of spritz on there, but I like how it works in our background. So we're just going to dry it. Pretty cool. I can't believe the kit is still in stock. It's crazy.
Everybody's been busy making a lot of kits.
That's just nuts, really. Because when you buy all this stuff separate, I don't even, just the dyes in there, I don't even know what that comes out to. I mean, it is nice that after this, you know, people watching the video on rewatch, you know, you'll still be able to like get a dye or get a stamp, but like all of that stuff, all the dyes, the stamps, the ink, the fluff, the cotton candy, like all that that's nuts. I'm happy though. I'm really happy. Okay. Trudy, let me get this straight. Distress oxide is darker than distress ink. No, that is not true. It is more opaque. So because it's more opaque, it will stand out on the background. Actually, distress ink is more intense because it is a dye, and dye colorants are way more intense. Not really the best color to show, but I will because it's really the lightest color, okay? So there's our color as a dye, distress ink. So it's really intense. Oxide, even if we go direct to paper, is much lighter, see? But because I added water to this and made it like a watercolory wash, so I made it lighter than going direct to paper, the opacity of oxide will stand out more. Could you have just stamped in distress ink? Yes, but you wouldn't have had the amount of contrast. So it's close, but it's more of a translucency opacity. But as far as the most intense or deepest version of distress, it would always be ink because it's going to saturate into the paper because of the dye. So that's dye, that's ink, that's oxide. So it's really just, in this case, it's about the opacity. I wanted that to actually sit on the top of those inks and be visible, but not be dominant and intense like the ink is. Hope that makes sense. I know the ink world is confusing. It really is. You know, even doing it's confusing. It's a lot of stuff. So there's our background. Look at that. Isn't that spritz just nice? Just adds, when the light hits it, it just adds that really great shimmery look. Okay. But that's why you're here, asking questions so you get it. Okay, we're gonna take a stamp. I love the stamps in here. Sweet and fluffy birthday wishes. Sweet and fluffy. All right, I'm just gonna take a stamp, put it on the tiniest block of my hands just to see how that's gonna work. Take whatever, I'll put it on straight. You don't have to put it on straight because you can see through it, but I'm just gonna lay that down. You can stamp with whatever color ink you want, whatever kind. You can use archival for this. You could even stamp in distress. I just really like VersaFine Clair for really detailed stuff. Also, it sits really well on top of spritz if you had too much spritz on the background, okay? Because spritz, because of its metallic effect, is sometimes really intense, and so we're just gonna stamp that. There we have it. Sweet and fluffy birthday wishes. Clean that off. All right. I believe we're making like a legit card.
From start to finish.
I know, right? Easy though. Okay, put that back because I still have a lot of stuff to get to. It's dry, 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 dry. Let's clean this off. That's just going to wipe off the glass versus my hand. Okay, then on the build. So for this, we've got a card. We've got our cardstock. And again, this is just how I did it. You do whatever's going to work for you. Okay, I'm just going to use score tape for this. So some people might want to use glue. Some people might want to do all sorts of stuff. So pretty much what I'm going to do is just take a little score tape, put it on the back, take the snips, snip that, little score tape. Some people like to do a little X or a Z, or just depends. 2 lines of this is going to be perfect for me. Then I usually just take the back of the tool and just drag it across the tape so it catches, and then you just hit it with the little pick part, if I can. I was going to go to my, oh, there it is. Thanks, Mario. I was like, typically I move to like a craft pick because the craft pick, like I said, it's just a finer needle. So it'll go right under that layer. And then you just do your best to match up. I'm not really a good matcher upper, but it works for me. Boom. Done. Okay. Then comes the mounting. I'm going to share this with you because I actually learned this from Paula several years ago, but I never knew, and I had been crafting for many years at that point. Like, I always thought foam tape was just foam tape, or foam squares was foam squares. And she's like, oh, sometimes when I do work, like, I'll use the thin foam squares. I'm like, you mean the small foam squares? She's like, no, the thin ones. I had no idea that foam, especially in like a craft world, came in different thicknesses. See, like, I knew it came in different sizes, see, big and small, but see how that stuff is thick? And these are thin, but still dimensional, but just not nearly as thick as that. Can you guys see, am I doing a really poor job showing you the visual?
No, you can actually see
There's
how
thin, and then there's
different
thick. See, there you go. Anyway, interesting, because especially when you're doing a card that already has something big and dimensional on it, I didn't really want the background to just jump out. So I'm using thin foam squares. You could use whatever you want. So I like to treat it as like support beams. So I do the corners, the middle, and the 2 inside parts of the back. There you go. They don't have to be perfect or straight. Then they're also easy just to peel off.
You're fast.
What, on the squares?
Yeah.
You just don't think about it.
You can get the backs off quick. I can't. It takes me a while.
I just use like the pad of my pork chop finger, and it just, like, I don't need a pick or anything. Because sometimes, you know, you think you need fingernails or something. Not for these. I don't know if there's something in it. It just makes it.
Simon's magic foam.
It's great. I have it in white and black and thick and thin. All right, and I just stuck that on my mat like a chump. Look at that. There we have it. That's why we work on glass, though. Okay. Line this up-ish. That's good. Card base. Where's our cotton candy? Let's do the glitter one. Let's do the one we glittered. Okay. So all I do to put it on the card, hot glue. Kind of spread it around a little bit. I know, isn't that weird? Like put a hot glue thing right on your beautiful background you created. And then just kind of position the cotton candy the way you want. And I just hold it in the glue. So I'm squishing it because I want like the cone to kind of sit upright. See? And that's it. Okay. There you go. Because see, that's really going to flatten perfect in a, in a mailer, but then it's still going to just puff right back up. Sweet and fluffy birthday wishes. Look at that. Simple. Same thing you would do for popcorn, right? Scattered straw, fossilized amber, speckly fleckly, stamp, hot glue the popcorn box, flattens out. See, once you know the trick, you can just keep going. You just keep going. So cute, fun.
That was fun to watch.
We made a card. Okay, moving on. I got other things to do.
Yeah, you do.
I got stuff to share. I didn't know that was going to take so long, but I'm having a good time.
Right?
No, I'm good right now. Thank you though. All right. So let's talk about the easy one. This is an easy one, but quite fun. Okay. That's going to be the ephemera, slots, and the tickets. I'll just briefly talk about it. So when it comes to this die, and I did a version of this die with Sizzix a long time ago, but it was more of it was its own pocket, like it had little stitching around and all that. The cool thing about this die is it really does just cut out these slots. So there's no outer blade to this, which means you can put it on anything to cut. So for example, if you wanted it directly in a card panel, you could. I don't know what you're going to do about the inside stuff because you're tucking it in, but you could if you wanted to. It really is sized for a standard number 8 tag. I like to use that so you know that it's going to be left to right, but it could work on anything. That's what this is. And like I said, what we did different on this one is just less slots, more space in between it. So you can see when you layer it, you can do all sorts of cool, fun things. And I thought this is just a great way to do this for a friend, as a gift. There's a little gift card, see, to Harkins. It's a fun thing. And all you do is you start with a tag or a card panel. You die cut it. That's going to give you the slots. And that's what we have here. If you did the Christmas in July class, we did this. So envision 3 slots because this won't fit in my Sidekick and I'm not going to take out the other machine. But there's 3 slots cut in there. Once that's cut, you just add glue only around the outer edge and you'd glue it to another tag. So that's what we've done here because then it hides all the mechanics. Does that make sense? See, there's literally 2 tags there. So the first one's just glued because this one has those slots in there. And see, the back one you can just see is just visible. So I did all the inking and all the play with this one, but that's where things really kind of went crazy. Like I made this one this morning. This is one of those, I'm like, I want to make this. I really need to make this. So I just started going like nuts and pulling out. And I think that was probably the distraction because once I start going through stamps, I'm like, oh my God, that's a good one. That's a good one. So this is old school, like 56 psychedelic grunge. Like how perfect is this for like circus, like the stripes, and I have a stencil like that, or these bullseyes or the dots. It comes in different sizes if I was doing smaller. This is the stamp set I used on this tag because I love the old movie listings. There's a popcorn one. You're going to do a background. This is at the movies. Look at that. 81, 500 stamp sets. So this one to do a background, I just literally stamped it to show you. If this was my tag, I'm going to do like visual and air. I inked it up. I stamped. I turned it. I stamped. I turned it. I stamped. I just kind of like did parts and pieces. And that's why like the writing goes all different directions in there. It's just fun that way. I thought it was really cool. So did some stamping, but there's a lot of great things. There's tickets if you just want to do a background with tickets. I love the idea of a blueprint, like doing a popcorn blueprint and then like pairing it on a card with a dimensional one. I love that. I thought that's fun. Circus, but maybe you're not into creepy clowns, so I get it, but you could do something circus. Or this circus, I love this one, big top. So if you were doing something circus or carnival, I loved this stamp set. Again, that would be cool with popcorn or cotton candy. But then there were other things, where like little sparkly things that I started looking at. I started looking at backgrounds going, ooh, that's a fun retro background. Oh, there's stripes. Oh, there's polka dots. Oh, there's bigger stripes. See, you go down the rabbit hole, but this is my process. I take them all out and then figure out if I'm going to use any or none. But it's fun to have them, okay? So after I stamped it, I just took out the tickets from the ticket book. Where are the tickets? Here we go. Thanks, Mario.
You're welcome.
And like I said, for these, it's super simple. You just start, you can rip off the first tab, you can rip out right in between, but all of these have a perforated edge. And they're just easy to distress. So I inked them. I just kind of used my fingernail to create some little wear and tear on them. They tuck into the slots. This is a flashcard. This is a photo booth. I just saw it with the two friends there. I love Choose Happy. I love Keep This Ticket. I added some sellotape, so you can see sellotape is there. There's a gift card. Look at that kernel of popcorn. Sellotape there, sellotape there. It was just a lot of fun. And I love the flashcard to play because I just thought this is really great just to give to friends. And then I remembered something way old school, circa, oh my gosh, 2009. 2009, we did film strip ribbon. Film strip ribbon is just a whole thing of, well, it's film strip. I think we still do film strip ribbon. I just don't think it comes in this little tin anymore. But the cool thing about this, let me just open it, is you get all of this. It's a ton of it, all of this film strip, and it's actually cut. So it's got all those little slots cut out of it, and it's got that little inked edge. You can do tiny little photos. I just love it. So I just cut a strip of that, and I thought, how fun is that just to tuck in there? Because this would be good. You know, you can sew through this stuff, but anyway, it's a fun thing to do as a quick make for a gift card. Now, again, this was movie themed, but you could still do tickets. You can do other photos. If this was travel, maybe you wanted to do something a little bit bigger on a card front, because there's, like I said, there's transit tickets. So maybe people are, you know, going somewhere. It's just a lot of fun. Anyway, that's what I did with the die this morning, and I had a blast. It was fun just quickly like tucking all the things into that, and now I have cute tag, and that would also be cute on there. But I have that instead. Okay, moving on. I do love that. I love how we kind of figured that out, Nina. Okay, next let's talk. Where do I want to go next? You got to pull it together. We'll talk about this briefly, and then I'm gonna continue on. Hope you guys are okay with this. So this is a cool die. This is also in the kit. So far, everything I've talked about as far as dies, like all these dies are in that kit. The popcorn, the ephemera slots, the cone, and then these. The Festive Bunting, as I mentioned, it's very cute. It's really fun. I'll cut one out real quick, just because. Why not? It'll fit in the sidekick. Here we go. I'll do it out of Craft, because that's what I grabbed it. So, all right. We'll do that. And then, yeah, this will fit in my sidekick. If you're going to do that, if you have a sidekick, you're going to need the extended cutting pads if you're going to run this one through your sidekick, just because, or you have to run it twice. Because this is the size cutting pad that comes with the sidekick, and then these are the extended ones. So see, it's just longer. Great for like wildflowers or for things like this that are just a little bit longer, because you don't want it to go right up to the edge. It'll never cut. See, the die goes right to the edge of that. It won't work on that. You could do like a double pass if that's all you had. But oh my heck. Don't mind me. Okay. So I'm going to just,
What you need, or did you?
oh no, I have it. Thanks.
Okay.
So I'm going to place this down. Oh my gosh, what would I do? What would I do without you, Mario? Thanks. All right. Just going to run this through just to show you how it cuts, and then I'm going to tell you what I did with it. Okay. So these, they're all individual, but it not only cuts, but it also knocks out that little hole. Great little negative space if you were already going to do this in a card front or something. I'll clean that out later. Then you have that little string that I mentioned. And the string, you don't have to cut the string out of paper. You can use that little red and white string, little baker's twine, but I'll just show you how this works. It's pretty clever. I like it. I've done some paper string too, but this one is like sized really perfect because I've never done holes in the pendants like that, like Nina did. Okay, there's our paper strip. It's very, very, very thin. Okay, get my die pick and take this out. Come on. There we are. Look at that. Ooh. So really, if you were putting this on a card, this is sized that you can actually weave this in and out like string. You just thread, you can bend the paper, and you can literally just put the flags on this paper string. So when we said paper string, like it was like that for a reason. Crazy, right? And you could even have the string go on the top. So I'll go the other way just to show you. And you just thread it through. So it just depends on how you want that to look, but you can do all sorts of things with this little bunting. And as I mentioned, the stamp set, also in the kit, but also separate. All these little things, very, very cute. Because if you want to add some little patterns, design, whatever you want, we can take whatever color, any kind of ink. I mean, oxide looks really nice on this, but anything's going to work. But you just stamp it. Cute, huh? Great little scale. So all those, and you can do the stripes, you can do the stripes diagonal. There's just, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very cute. I love the little ideas. And as I mentioned, the little stripes. Now, this one, the reason this is a little bigger is because Nina already figured out that maybe you want to stamp stripes different. Maybe you want to, because it was really sized for this, like maybe you want to go vertical, maybe you want to go horizontal, or maybe you want enough space to go diagonal. So that's why this stamp is just a little bit bigger in size than the others. So let's do that. Tap, tap, tap. So we can actually position that and just go on the diagonal. Come on, so cute. Seriously? Come on. I love it. It was really great. And this isn't just about the carnival or circus, it's just play. So that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my really terrifying brain when it comes to playing. Because I've always looked at stuff as shapes, never themes. But I understand that, you know, as makers, sometimes you see a kit and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do the carnival theme. But it's like, there's so many great elements that if you are a maker, chances are you've made a birthday card, or you've made something birthday or something celebratory. And a lot of these elements really play into that. So when I looked at these, I'm like, oh yeah, I love this. I love the bunting. I love the pattern. But you know what? To me, these remind me of like, well, little pennant flags, little like Disney flags. So I took that die and I cut out a bunch of little felt. So this is felt that it's just called thin felt. You could, again, I bought like a bazillion colors. It's adhesive backed already. So it's a peel and stick. I think I probably bought this the same time I bought the pom-pom. So I have so many colors of it, but it's very, very thin and it already has adhesive on the back. So it's peel and stick. It cut perfect in all of these colors. I didn't peel off the back because you don't have to, but if I was going to stick it onto something, I would. But then I asked Mario to paint a bunch of toothpicks gold, which he did. I would have painted those, but honestly, I was getting in the shower this morning and I'm like, I have this idea. He's such a... Seriously, this was like less than like an hour before live. Then there's little metallic beads. I die cut a bunch of little stars out of Craft Stock Sparkle. And I thought, how cute would it be to make a tiny little pennant flag like for a birthday? Come on. Isn't that just cute? So it couldn't be easier. You have a toothpick. This was like off of a wooden beaded garland that I had a scrap of. So, but any kind of bead would work. You're just going to take a little bit of hot glue. You're going to just do a little dot of hot glue on the top of that toothpick. I'm just going to take that. I'm going to put it right in the bead. And I'm just going to kind of make sure that the bead or the toothpick doesn't come out of the top. And there is, so the toothpick could be any color. You could do alloys or any kind of metallic, whatever that is. This is just a falling stars die that I did with Sizzix long ago. So any die cut that cuts a bunch of little things. And like I said, this is Craft Stock Sparkle. So it's got that great little glittery sparkle. And you just find, oh, thanks, Mario. This has been retired, but that's it. So it's just like a die for a background, but I'm like, oh, those are great little shapes because there's a bunch of different size stars. So once you cut it, you have, well, stars for everything. That was a great, and I think I saw Paula do that like a while ago. It's cute. And I'll do a red one because maybe I'll do one for the elephant. Then I've got a little bit of glue. Just going to put a little dot on there. You don't need much. Glue on the star, but maybe you have a little heart, or maybe you have a number. You know, maybe you find some alphabet dies and you have a little number for like the age, if it's going to be a birthday or something like that. But I just thought that shape was so perfect. And then the toothpick just went into that hole, went on that hole,
so cool.
And just...
I didn't know when you wanted those golden. Like, I don't really understand what you're doing.
And then that goes up, and then I'll just straighten out the star while it dries. But really, come on. That could be so many different things. And maybe it even goes with like, you know, our giraffe for a little party. Come on. So fun. But I just thought that shape was very cute. And I just felt that it was pretty perfect to do little flags, because I just think like there could be so many fun things. So when you're seeing the festive bunting, it is great. Remember, you can thread it, you can stamp it, you can put string in it, but also, even if you were doing this out of cardstock or some thin felt, it was a blast just to have these. And you know, all of these cut out really didn't take more than 10 minutes, because you're just cutting strips of them and you have all these flags ready to go. And it cut the holes perfectly. So I just left the backing on it because I'm not going to stick them down. It's finished. Cute. So that was the other idea that happened this morning. I was like, ooh, that'd be a good idea. Make little flags. Maybe because I saw like Disneyland flags and I'm like, oh, I should make a little pennant. So good fun. Okay, moving on. I know these ideas are random, but that is half the fun, is seeing random ideas. Okay. So next up, I gotta pick up this cutting pad. All right, speaking of random, I'll save that to the end. I'll talk about this real quick and then I'll just show one more thing and then, yeah, we could be done. So during the live, Heidi had a stencil. She talked about the burst stencil. There we are. So this is a stencil. This is Spotlight Burst Trio. This is 3 different stencils that Simon Says sells, but I wanted to talk about, like, I've done burst stencils before. I have them with Stampers Anonymous, but it's different because obviously, you know, mine I did them in a tag size. So if you're going to create a burst, you just have to do this twice. But these are substantially larger than these, substantially. So this is still really great if you want to do a burst, because this technique I'm going to show you applies to whatever you have. But these are just much smaller and much more detailed. But what I sent her was a sample that was foiled. And I noticed in the chat that people hadn't heard of this before, and this isn't anything that was like invented. It's just creative knowledge. I'm not going to say common knowledge because not everybody knows. It's just creative knowledge. If you have a translucent base paste, okay, so texture paste translucent will work, or twinkle because it says translucent gloss. Anything that's going to be translucent and gloss, okay, even sparkle, translucent and gloss. Any of those kind of pastes that you put on a surface that will dry to that gloss finish, they are heat foilable, okay? Meaning you can take heat foil. This happens to be mink foil. So not all heat foils are going to work the same, but I know it works with a mink because mink is a heat system, and it's like a laminator kind of thing. And all you do is you put the paste through a stencil, you let it dry, and it's clear. It's kind of like glossy accents. You take foil, you put it over the top, and in this case, I ran it through the mink, but if you don't have a mink and you have a laminator, same thing. You run it through, and then the foil will stick to the paste because the heat melts that kind of glossy finish and it becomes sticky. But it's a beautiful way to add foil. What do you think, Mario?
It is beautiful.
All right. He didn't have much to say, but that's good.
No, I was watching the whole time. Sorry.
That's all right. So the other thing to note is that, like this is sparkle. This is another one. If you're looking for cool backgrounds to kind of go with cotton candy or with popcorn or anything, look at your shapes and designs. I just think that's really cool. I love the glitter in this one. So just wanted to touch base on it because it's really that easy. But it doesn't have to be translucent. It could be anything. This is just going to cover the glitter, but because it's translucent base, it will melt and become sticky. So there you go. Okay.
Getting there.
I'm getting there. Clearing the deck. I think I have one more thing to show you and then we can do good.
Someone asked what stencil is that one?
Which one?
I don't know what you were
Oh,
just doing.
the one I just did?
Yeah.
173 is the big one, and it's also in the mini. The big ones are sold separate. This is in like a 3-pack. So I think that particular scale that I did, let's see, that was the mini. Yeah, isn't that pretty? I love it. Very retro, huh?
Very,
It's like atomic retro vibe.
very good.
It's cool. It is Jetsons. All right. So I'm going to finish up with one more idea because this was actually the idea that started everything when I was playing around, because I love stuff, as you know. I love playful, whimsy things. And even though, you know, I was like, oh, this cone is so cool. It's great for cotton candy. It's great for this. I just had this idea of creating something, well, something a little sweeter. And I was like,
Man,
I totally want to make a snow cone out of this.
awesome.
And I want to, because again, part of the carnival, it's not just cotton candy and popcorn, it's also snow cones. And so this one, it definitely went a little crazy, but I had a blast. And so I just want to share how to do this. It's probably more work than most people will want to do, but it's not that bad. I had really a lot of fun doing it. So we'll talk about the card. The card background is exactly what I showed you. I just did it in 3 colors. Meaning when I inked up my transparency, I did yellow. I dried it. I added some red. I added red and dried it. I did blue. I didn't do all 3 colors on the transparency at once because it would turn into mud. So this allowed me to layer each one. Same thing with the spritz. I covered this with a paper towel. I spritzed red. I covered this with a paper towel. I spritzed yellow. I covered this with a paper towel. I spritzed blue. But then I used a stamp from the set that said, "You make life sweet." But I love this. But there was a few challenges when I started doing this that I was like, okay, I have some figuring out to do. But everything is figure outable. Remember that as a maker, everything is figure outable. I started with this one because, well, if you know anything about me, I love to eat things that are blue. No idea why. It's been like that since a kid. And there's nothing better than like a blue raspberry or blue coconut snow cone. So that's where I started. But then after I figured it out, I knew I had to create that whole rainbow snow cone because, well, that's just fun. So a couple of things. We'll start with the snow part, the snow cone part, and then we'll talk about the cone part, okay? So for my snow cone, here's my little bucket of goods. It's, yeah, like I said, it's a lot more stuff than you probably will even want to do, but it's hilarious.
Go to that snow cone shop
So
quickly.
I know.
I got it on the brain.
I started out with a tiny 1-inch styrofoam ball, okay? The crunchy kind. Styrofoam balls come different. It's not the smoothie one. It needs to be the crunchy one because the crunchy one is what's already going to get us halfway there with the snow cone vibe, okay? And I went on the internet and I read like, how do people color styrofoam? And it was like, oh, use acrylic paint and all that. I'm like, not making an ice cream cone. I really wanted mine to look like how a snow cone looks, where the color is like in the ice, right? So alcohol ink was my solution because I didn't want opacity. I wanted translucent, but there was a learning curve. So that's what I'm going to share with you. And so we'll start with the snow cone part and then we'll go from there. Oh man. Oh, here it is. I was going to say, I have one toothpick. I always think that I'm ready and then I go to look for it and that's where I'm like, man, what was I doing? So I just start by putting a toothpick in here because that's what's going to hold on to this while I add color to it. And you can create like whatever you want to create. We're going to create the rainbow one because it's the hardest one. And so why not do that one on camera? So I just have a little plastic palette because we need to paint the inks on, but the ink should not go on full strength. That's going to be way too much color. So what I want to do is I'm just going to take isopropyl alcohol. So this is like 91%. And I'm just going to squeeze some into, if you don't have a palette, use a dish, use something, but you need to make a wash of color is what I'm doing. So I've got isopropyl in there. Can you see that? I also have a little jar of isopropyl over here to clean my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of color. Now there's already alcohol in here, alcohol ink, so it might be enough color, but just to show you what I did, I'm going to show you. So you can just add like really just a drop. It could be a drop or two. It doesn't need to be a lot. At this point, think of this as food coloring, right? That's going to be the best. At this point, it's just food coloring. So if you were going to do like blue raspberry, you would just do the alcohol in blue. And the blue I used is turquoise. So the colors I have for mine, I did watermelon. That sounds delicious. Dandelion, not so delicious. And turquoise. Those are going to be my colors. Okay. Easy enough? Easy enough. And then I'm just going to like visually work on my snow cone. You know how the colors just kind of meld together anyway, but I'm going to go from light to dark. So I'm going to start with yellow. So I'm just going to take a brush. It could be any kind of brush you want. And I'm going to just dip into that wash, and I'm just going to start dabbing this on. So see, it wants to soak right into that anyway. So I'm dabbing just down the center, and it's going to spread out a little bit, but don't worry, the color is going to lighten significantly. So I know it looks like yellow snow right now because it is, but it won't. We'll go back and we can add more later. Okay, so I did my stripe. Then you're going to clean off your brush. So I'm just going to clean it in the alcohol. I've got just a cloth next to me that I just wiped off the brush, and then just pick your next color. It doesn't really matter which one it is. And so we're just going to go into that space and add the color. And it's okay if they overlap some. It's going to be fine. I'm going to clean this a little bit more because my blue looks a little green. Oh, here's what I need. There we go. Take a paper towel because see, I always look at my brush, and if it still looks kind of mucky, there we go. Ah, much better. It's still going to be just fine. All right, so I'm going to dab that on, and I can always go back and make more. So don't be stingy thinking I'm going to use it all up. So see, just dabbing it on so far, because we can go back and like overlap the colors a little bit, but they'll also kind of do it on its own. Okay, so far so good. Perfect. Next, what I want to do is I need to take a paper towel that is dry, and I'm going to go around and just start dabbing this off, and the majority of the ink is going to start coming off. That's actually what we want to have happen. Okay. So you'll see how much color is really coming out. But that's where we start getting this really nice light snow cone effect. See, because when it was on too dark, it did not look good at all. And you don't need to take all of it off. Like once you kind of like the tone, we're just going to let it dry for a minute because it will need time to dry because there's ink. But anytime I see like a dark, hot color that I don't like, I'm just going to dab it off. And then if I see I need more, like blue, I think I need more, I can just add some more. Okay. So it's really just about putting some of that color on, but also taking a lot of the color off. And also once your paper towel is maybe saturated in a color, it might be good to change it because at that point, if you had red on there and you touch the yellow, it would turn color. So this is where I start to become a little bit more, I don't know, particular in that blend, right? So now if I want some of that color to go in and create blue, green, I'll touch the blue onto the yellow, and then same thing with the red. You know, I'll just kind of bring that in a little bit more just because I don't want it to look perfect. You know, I want it to look snow cone-ish where it's going to have some color that goes around. Okay, same thing. Going to let it set for a second and then just start touching it on the paper towel just to pull out some of that excess color. Nice. So all I'm doing is like where I see it like a little too intense. Okay, now we're going to let this dry. I'm happy with that color. That looks delicious, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to set this aside to dry. I don't want to use a heat tool. It's styrofoam. It'll melt. So I'm going to let this dry. And while that's drying, we'll talk about the cone. So I'm going to put it in front of a fan over here. There we go. Perfect. I got a little fan off to the side. Clean my brush one more time. And let's talk cone. Okay, that wasn't bad. The painting part was easy. So for the snow cone itself, I really wanted something super retro. And as much as I love the stamps in the set, you know, the stripes and the stars, I really wanted retro, and I knew I had something retro. So in a Christmas set, there's actually, I think this kind of stamp is in 2 different Christmas sets, but this one's my favorite because it's a smaller scale and it has a lot of like clustered stars. So this is Christmas Magic 247. Yeah, CMS 247. So I'm using that little sparkle. So what I did on this one's a little different approach. So I'm going to go back to my piece of copy paper, and I just need enough to cut out actually 2 cones out of this. So in order to make the big cone, in order to make this wide cone, I needed 2 of these to make 1 of these. Okay, so let's just take that. Got our piece of paper. That's again going back to our copy paper. I'll take the stamp. This is where I went to archival just because I wanted a color, but again, you can use whatever it is that you want. I'm using Mermaid Lagoon, but use whatever color you want to use. Well, actually, if we're going to do the rainbow one, we're going to do the rainbow one again. I'll go to red. Blue here, I use Mermaid Lagoon. Red, I did Barn Door. Well, because there's not enough colors of Distress Archival. So I used Barn Door. I would have used probably, you know, maybe Lumberjack Plaid or maybe even Candied Apple, but this is going to work just fine. Okay. So what I'm going to do, ink it up. So again, it could be whatever ink you want to use. I just found for the detail of this image, archival seemed to stamp better on copy paper than even Distress did. It just, you know, because copy paper is not really meant for stamping. And I really wanted that nice detail. So that's why I went archival on that. But if you don't have it, use what you have. So I stamped it once and notice there's like a straight side. So the first time I stamped it this way, then all I'm going to do is flip this over and you'll kind of see like a place where you can just offset it and it seems to kind of tuck into the next one. It's almost like where something can kind of, I don't know, just create a pattern.
That is pretty brilliant.
And just created paper. It was just snow cone paper. We made popcorn paper, now we're making snow cone paper. So you use what you have. But that was the background stamp that I needed, and it could just be random. Okay, clean that up. Done. Moving on. Okay, now for die cutting. So next we're going to go back to our cone, and all we need to do is we're going to cut 2 of them. So we'll bring this back in. And this doesn't really matter. It is a pattern. So you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. You just lay it down and off to the races. All right. The size of the foam balls are just under 1 inch. Tiny. So probably, you know, I'm going to guess that they probably sell it as a 1 inch. That would be it. There you go. Okay. So we have 2. So there's our paper for our cone. That's what's going to make our wider snow cone cone. Okay. It's everything we know to do. But first, before we get all crazy relaxing the paper to make, isn't that just, I just love looking at it. It makes me so happy. I want to glue these together because I need to make one big piece of paper. Okay. So let's just we'll take one of the pieces. Let's see, how am I going to do this? We'll put a little bit of glue on, it doesn't really matter which seam, but just a little bit of glue right there. And then you're going to place this right next to it, just so they overlap. Again, there's no right or wrong. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to overlap. Because you'll have some place to kind of move it around. So we have one piece now. So now we have a much bigger cone, and now we can go in and just do this. Yeah, on the styrofoam balls, it's funny because I use them a lot at Christmas as well, but it was something about finding the crunchy version. I think I was talking to Kabera in Canada, and she's like, I cannot find the crunchy styrofoam. Like, they're all smooth now at the craft store. And I'm like, really?
I think I saw that Simon has them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, because I was talking to Heidi, because when I bought the crunchy ones, I mean, remember I had to buy like,
Yes,
it was hundreds at a time but that's what I wanted and that's what I needed. So yeah, but isn't that weird? I wonder why they're smooth now. And I guess maybe they're easier to work with on some accounts, but not for me. So here, I'm just creating that roll again. See, where you're just kind of relaxing. It's the same thing as the other one, but it doesn't have to be as tight. So it's actually much easier to use. All right. So then what we're going to do is same rules apply. We're going to add our glue and we're going to make our cone. So now that I have my 2 pieces glued together, I'm just going to add my glue just down the whole thing. This, you don't have to worry about lining up anything. It's easy on this one. Bring that around. Boom. And same thing. Once I find my squeezers, place that in and let that dry. But see, now I have a cone. And it doesn't really matter what shows up. Like the seam is actually right there, but you don't really notice it. Isn't that weird? Like the seam is actually front and center because that's what I liked. I think even on this one, the seam is like, that one's good. The seam is kind of off to the side. So don't get too caught up in your head about where the seam is on this one, I guess, because it's when it's all said and done, I don't think you see it. Okay. So, all right. So next is like a personal choice for how you want to proceed with this. I'm going to let this dry for a second. I'm going to go back to my ink. There we go. Let's just test it. Yep. There's our dry snow cone. Almost. Because now we need to add the beautiful icy effect, the snow coniness of it. So what I'm going to use for that is some glossy accents. That's going to be our glue, a brush to get the glue on there, a tin to hold the glitter, and rock candy. I'm using mixture. The mixture is really just leftover equal parts of these glitters. So, I mean, I started this last year. As I was using it, all of my scrap went into an empty jar, and now it's a mix. So this is actually a mix of chunky and fine. I like it. I like how it goes together, but you can use one or the other. It's completely up to you. I think chunky is going to add more of, you know, that snow coniness because it reflects the light a little bit more. But again, do what works. So I'm just going to kind of shake that up real quick. Open that up. That's going to be our tin. Use a piece of scrap paper to put the glossy accents on. My glossy accents, I have one bottle. I actually talked to Ranger about this last week, that I sacrifice every time. It's a brand new bottle. I get it and I cut off the nib because I just use it as glue. So even that thing, it just allows me to like squirt out a blobular amount or not.
You pick?
No, I just don't want it to explode. There we go.
There you are.
It's blobular. See? That's what I want. Just make sure if you do that, like you don't lay it on the side like I did, because see, that's why it didn't work, because it started to ooze out. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just add our glitter. So I'm taking glossy accents. I'm just dabbing it on like a color, because the glossy accents will react the ink a little bit. You know, so if you notice like that it starts getting funky, just wipe off the brush. But I just go a little bit and then I add some glitter, because glossy accents dries really, really fast. So that's why it's just important that you just take your time and dab it on there, because it's a styrofoam ball. Styrofoam is really porous. It's very absorbent, but it's also chunky. But see how it's just looking great already? It just adds that magical touch to the snow cone, I think. And that's why I want a container where I can just pour it over the top. I don't like to dip it, because if you dip it, then you kind of flatten out all the glitter and then it doesn't sparkle that way. So I think pouring is better. It's like sugaring things. See, look at that. Ooh. All right, got like one more section. And you could go over another section. It'll just lift off what you did before, but that's okay. Okay. There's our snow cone. Oh, I see one little spot on the top that needs some big time. Okay. There's our snow cone. Nice. This, you're just going to clean in water. So I just threw my brush in some water. It's cute. This, and my little tin, goes right back into my jar. All right. So fun. And then this thing, we put away. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to put that in front of the fan as well, just for a second. I would say drying time on that glitter is probably just going to be a couple minutes, but really, if you have a fan, you know, a fan will always speed up the drying of a glue. Just don't use a heat tool. not on the styrofoam. Okay, so back to our cone. So when I mentioned like personal choice, like this is a full-size cone and this is what it looks like. So yeah, you could totally do that. I just felt that like I was seeing more cone than snow. And I know that this is probably more legit. Like when you get a snow cone, I do think that it sits more in the cone. But for my purpose, I trim this down. So just know that you don't have to, because clearly it fits. And I think that is more, I'm going to say, to scale if you were going to use it in a project. But because I was putting it on a card, I needed the real estate, I just trimmed down the cone. So if you want to trim it down, you can. But just know that when you make the double cone, it fits that size cotton ball or styrofoam ball. So all I did is I just took the scissors and I just started like, I just trimmed a little bit off, and then it created these weird little points. And then I just went in and kind of rounded those little points off. It's not perfect, but it's not going to matter because when this sits on top, it's just fine. So I just look around, and anything that looks a little weird, you know, don't keep trimming crazy, because then you'll end up with, you know, a cone that's like a ½ inch tall because you just keep trimming it down. But once you're happy with the overall shape of it and kind of the height of it, we're ready to glue in the snow cone. So we'll take the snow cone, and you could, I mean, I suppose you could keep the toothpick in there. I did not. So I'm like, okay, that looks good. That's where it's going to be. So all I did was just go in with some hot glue. Be really careful on this, because you are kind of putting it, you're putting it like on the edge, but on the inside edge, if that makes sense, of this paper cone. There you go. Then take the snow cone and just put it on.
Wow.
Done.
That is really awesome.
It's cute.
That's so cute.
It's a cute little snow cone. And again, compartmental making, you can make them, but like 4th of July, you want to do, you know, red and then just leave that part white and then do like a deeper blue. Gosh, even Halloween snow cones, because, well, I just think all seasons, but I just love the idea of, again, utilizing that cone die. And so this would also apply if you wanted, say, a bigger party hat. You're like, oh, I want to make a bigger party hat. Well, then just cut 2 and do it together. But I think that's fun, especially, thanks, especially when you start seeing, you know, all of the fun ideas that can come out of this kit. I absolutely love the kit. I still can't believe that all the dies and the stamps and the ink and the heat and fluff, and for 40 bucks. It's like, you can't even go to Starbucks for that anymore. It's ridiculous. No, you can't. But nonetheless, it's, I mean, it is good fun. Let's bring this in too. Look at all this stuff. I do love those little pearls. I love our little giraffe. I love our little party pennants. My gosh, those are hilarious. I definitely think I want to add a popcorn box. This was another idea I had, but I didn't have time to finish this morning, so I won't go into it, but I think it's going to fit. Like, I want to create a popcorn box that's like dimensional. Like I think I want to do it to, you know, like to put stuff on the back. I'll just take the stamp and flip it over, you know, to get the V, because remember it stamps this way. I'll just do the back again. But I think I'm going to put popcorn on the back as well. But I love popcorn, so I think I want to make like a little dome. Because I think this is just going to fit perfect in there.
That's made to order.
See? And then I'll put the cork in and I'll just have popcorn pieces around and probably tie some string around it. But like, it like just reminds me of my brain. So this I can like pop open a little bit more. But how cute is that going to be? Like a little dome with popcorn, and it's just fun. So that's an idea that like hasn't happened yet, hasn't fully popped, but I think it will. So that was good fun.